Chapter 1294. In fact, Li Zongjiu's strength had already reached an incredible level. Even though it wasn't obvious in terms of strength, one could clearly feel how terrifying his strength was when he really fought. Therefore, Li Zongjiu easily tore the heavenly monster tribe in half when he unleashed his strength. There was no resistance at all. However, the remaining heavenly monster tribe members were also quite tough. They didn't lose their fighting strength after their tail was broken. Instead, they kept attacking Li Zongjiu's head. Obviously, the heavenly monster tribe had accurately grasped the weakness of the human race. It could even be said that the human race was full of weaknesses. However, if the head was directly smashed, it would be impossible for the human race to recover. The human race could only die in paradise. However, Li Zongjiu had the chaotic body. He easily blocked the attacks of the heavenly monster tribe. There was no resistance at all. Bang! 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 Sounds of vibrations reverberated in the space. The torn space quickly recovered. Li Zongjiu was also very careful. However, in comparison, the spatial power in front of him didn't seem so dangerous. If it was in the past, Li Zongjiu would be very careful because once he was sucked into this space, it would be difficult for him to find himself again. It wouldn't take long for his yuan qi to be depleted and he could only wait for death. After all, Li Zongjiu had personally experimented before. He would shatter a piece of space, tie the enemy to a rope, and throw them into the space. About 2 minutes later, when the enemy was pulled back, they were basically dead. There was even one time when he directly threw a person into the spatial crack and directly marked the person's body. After the spatial crack healed, the person was nowhere to be found. No one knew where he had gone. In any case, he had never been seen on the continent. However, Li Zongjiu's body had been refined in the chaotic force after much difficulty, directly tempering his body into the chaotic body. Therefore, he was no longer as fearful as he was in the past when he was in the spatial crack. Now, he already had a mental state that was sufficient to protect himself in this space. Therefore, Li Zongjiu was pleasantly surprised by his own realization. However, unless he had no other choice, he didn't dare to try and barge into the shattered space alone. Li Zongjiu tore a huge hole in the space behind him, grabbed the heavenly demon race member, and threw him into the crack. The heavenly monster tribesman seemed to be terrified at this moment. He kept struggling, wanting to rush back. However, it was too late. The space crack was cut and the heavenly monster tribesman disappeared instantly. Opening a crack in space was clearly no simple matter. It would have been difficult for Li Zongjiu to accomplish this with his original strength, but he could do it easily with his chaotic body. What? This guy can actually tear space as he pleases? Even the third elder of the Sparrow God Palace, who was a venerable, was extremely shocked. Even the third elder of the Sparrow God Palace would have to prepare well if he wanted to tear space apart. With the power of a single move, he could tear space apart. However, he still needed to prepare beforehand. It was impossible for him to do it as freely as Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu, on the other hand, looked a little too relaxed. The King of Fire was also on par with the heavenly monster tribesman with the peerless sword in his hand. After all, the peerless sword was an ancient demon slayer sword. It possessed boundless power and was made of a rather special material. It was tough and unyielding. With the sharpness of the peerless sword, he could completely suppress the heavenly monster tribesman. Of course, he also needed to see how capable the heavenly monster tribesman was. Li Zongjiu extended his hand and summoned the peerless sword back to his hand. Facing the relentless heavenly monster tribesman, he slashed out with the sword. At the same time, Li Zongjiu poured the chaotic qi in his body into the peerless sword. Boom! At this moment, the peerless sword seemed to erupt with true power. It surged out in an instant and a terrifying force cut the heavenly monster tribesman in half. Bang! After being cut in half, the heavenly monster tribesman stopped moving. His entire body began to stiffen and change. In the end, he turned into a small statue. A wooden statue. Li Zongjiu picked up the wooden statue that had been cut in half and carefully observed it. The wood statue was made of a special material. Even after being cut in half, it still retained a strong vitality. Therefore, after being carved and injected with energy, it could become a puppet of the heavenly monster tribesman. It's not simple at all. Li Zongjiu was shocked when he saw it. Before Li Zongjiu took action, he thought that the heavenly monster tribesmen were real heavenly monster tribesmen. But now, it seemed that they were just puppets transformed from wooden statues. They were puppets. Just a puppet could possess such terrifying strength. It was clear that the heavenly monster tribesmen's methods were not ordinary. However, even though Li Zongjiu knew how terrifying the heavenly monster tribesmen were, he still wanted to fight with them until the end. You go first. Li Zongjiu could see that King of Fire was not in a good condition. Apparently, he had used up a lot of his energy to control the sword and needed to recover. After all, King of Fire was just an artifact spirit and not a real body. If it were not for King of Fire's sacrifice, Li Zongjiu would not have been able to survive. It was hard to explain the entanglements and changes in the process. The Fire Ghost King nodded, and his figure once again rushed into the unparalleled sword. Then, he fell silent. In the distance, the Du family members could feel Li Zongjiu's decisiveness in the battle. Li Zongjiu had finished his battle while the third elder was still fighting a tough battle. If the third elder had not stepped into the honorable realm, he would have been killed by the heavenly monster tribesmen's puppets. Li Zongjiu glanced at the third elder. He did not go forward to help. Their target is you. These are just puppets. Even if you interrogate them, you won't get anything. Li Zongjiu landed on the side and quietly watched the third elder of Sparrow God Palace fight. The third elder saw that Li Zongjiu had finished off 2 of the puppets. Including the first 2, there were 4 puppets in total. He was shocked by Li Zongjiu's strength. Now that he heard Li Zongjiu's words, the third elder was enlightened. Obviously, Li Zongjiu wanted the third elder to be captured by the puppets in front of him. This was the only way to find their specific location. He wanted the third elder to enter the tiger's den. Li Zongjiu was willing to do anything to achieve his goal. Chapter 1295. This was why Li Zongjiu had chosen to stand aside and watch. After all, the 3 elders had to work together to unlock the Green Bird platform. Therefore, the third elder's life wasn't in danger. However, if Li Zongjiu wasn't strong enough to take back the Green Bird platform, Sparrow Divine Palace's last hope would be gone. The Ice Sparrow, who was watching the battle from below, didn't know what the 2 of them were talking about. The third elder was clearly having a hard time defending herself. However, Li Zongjiu had chosen to stand aside and watch. He hadn't stepped forward to help at all. The Ice Sparrow couldn't understand this. What was Li Zongjiu trying to do? Was he trying to show off his strength? If there was no need, why wasn't he killing the heavenly demon tribesmen quickly? The Du family naturally saw this scene as well. Why wasn't Li Zongjiu helping? Could it be that Li Zongjiu was deliberately trying to humiliate the third elder of Sparrow Divine Palace? Or was there some unresolved conflict between the 2 of them? Or were they in the middle of a negotiation? The third elder couldn't make up her mind. In the end, she finally made up her mind and asked Li Zongjiu. Do you really have the ability to take back the Flying Bird platform? The third elder had already decided that even if she was captured, if Li Zongjiu couldn't get the Flying Bird Dao platform back, she would self-destruct. At the same time, she held an elixir in her hand. What do you think? Li Zongjiu said nonchalantly. In fact, he couldn't help but want to make a move and knock the third elder unconscious. He wasn't here to help Sparrow Divine Palace. As long as he could save Qi Yanran, it didn't matter even if everyone in Sparrow Divine Palace died. Therefore, Li Zongjiu wasn't negotiating with her. Then you'd better hurry. The third elder stuffed the elixir into her mouth and swallowed it. The elixir in her hand was a poison elixir with a delayed effect. You only have 3 days. The elixir I just swallowed will take effect in 3 days. When that time comes, I will be poisoned to death. If you can't save me, I won't let the flying bird platform fall into the hands of the heavenly demon tribesmen. The third elder said nonchalantly. In other words, if Li Zongjiu was unable to rescue the third elder and the others within 3 days, he would not be able to open the flying bird dojo. He would have to wait for Qi Yanran to open it herself. However, if that was the case, who knew how many years would have passed? It would definitely be a long process. Then, the third elder gave up on fighting with the heavenly demon race puppet. In the next moment, the heavenly demon tribesman's sharp tail swung at the third elder, sending her flying. The third elder flew back a few hundred meters and spat out a mouthful of blood. The heavenly demon tribesman's puppet approached again and knocked the third elder unconscious with a flap of its wings. Then, it wrapped its tail around the third elder. Swoosh! Her body instantly flew into the distance. She seemed to have disappeared into the void. The spectators were baffled by the scene in front of them. Why was everyone taken away? What's going on? When Bing Ke saw this, she was stunned for a moment. How could her elder be taken away by someone? However, Li Zongjiu obviously didn't want to explain to these people. Immediately, her figure flashed. Boom! She also disappeared into the void. However, she didn't get too close. If she got too close, something might happen. While chasing, Li Zongjiu's heart was gradually brewing a killing intent. These idiots actually dared to have designs on Qi Yanran. Since the flying bird Dao platform was so miraculous, Li Zongjiu not only had to rescue Qi Yanran, but he also had to make sure that the flying bird Dao platform fell into Qi Yanran's hands. He couldn't let go of such a good thing. Evil Lord was still the same Evil Lord. Although he usually kept a low profile, he still did things as he pleased. Boom! The heavenly demon tribesman's puppet suddenly accelerated as if it had sensed something. However, Li Zongjiu had already locked onto the heavenly demon tribesman's puppet. It wouldn't be that easy to escape. After passing through the vast clouds, Li Zongjiu quickly saw a few magnificent mountains. Such a unique geographical environment. Li Zongjiu immediately thought to himself, Boluo Mountain. In his previous life, Li Zongjiu had also kept a respectful distance from the Boluo Mountain, which was the top of the 10 Forbidden Lands. Once, he had come to the Boluo Mountain. Just by looking around the periphery, he discovered at least a dozen peak honorable meta beasts moving around in groups in Unluo Mountain. Therefore, Li Zongjiu had directly taken them away. After all, he had nothing. Li Zongjiu didn't need to waste his time here and take such a huge risk. He hadn't expected to return this time. It seemed like the heavenly demon tribesmen were hiding here. However, it made sense. In the vast eldritch demon realm, there weren't many places that were worthy of the heavenly demon tribesmen. Li Zongjiu should have thought of this long ago. However, since they were already here, none of them could return alive. At the peak of the Boluo Mountain, in front of the green bird platform, a black-robed man was sitting cross-legged on a rock and cultivating. He raised his head slightly and his lips curled into a smile. Huh, Great Elder, you seem to be lying. The Great Elder seemed to have sensed something and his expression changed immediately. He had a bad feeling. When he raised his head, he saw a figure falling rapidly from the sky. Boom! Bang! It was the puppet of the heavenly demon tribesman. With a light swing of its tail, it threw the third elder to the ground. At this moment, the third elder was still in an unconscious state. How is this possible? When the great elder saw that his third junior sister had been captured, his eyes were filled with disbelief. Could these people be so powerful that they could capture someone from the chaotic Yuan Bell? Or could it be that Li Zongjiu had released the third elder to save her life? If that was the case, it was really disappointing. You actually managed to destroy 4 of my puppets. I'm afraid that your junior sister has quite a powerful helper. The black-robed man said slowly. He was rather surprised by the loss of his puppets. After all, each of his puppets could easily fight against an honorable realm expert. Moreover, the one that was left was the weakest one. Therefore, she must have a strong helper. The black-robed man suddenly raised his head and looked at the sky. Boom! A black shadow flew over like a thunderbolt. At this moment, the night seemed to be completely lit up. Even the air in the Buyuo mountain was split open. Chapter 1296. The black-robed man did not dodge. In his opinion, there was no power in this world that could force him to dodge. The black-clothed man quickly flipped his palm, and what seemed to be a wooden token shot into the sky. Boom! There was a strong collision. The surrounding air billowed and the black-robed man's hat was blown away. This was the first time the great elder of Sparrow God Palace saw the black-robed man. He was a young man who was less than 20 years old. His eyes were as black as ink and he looked extremely delicate. Although he had short hair, the great elder of Sparrow God Palace could tell that he was a woman. The heavenly monster tribe member with such powerful means was actually a woman. A shield was in front of him. Just now, when the lightning struck, a figure was sent flying and smashed into a nearby mountain peak. With a boom, the sound of the explosion destroyed the entire mountain. Swoosh! Li Zongjiu held the unparalleled sword and descended from the sky. The black dragon hammer was sent flying. Li Zongjiu's eyes were filled with coldness and killing intent when he landed in front of the heavenly monster tribe girl. She was the one who dared to touch his woman. Are you that reckless heavenly monster tribe member? Why is she a woman? Li Zongjiu looked at the girl in front of him and said indifferently. He frowned. Since she was a woman, there was no need for her to work so hard. Even if she worked so hard, she would not be able to continue her tribe in the future. Why did she have to work so hard? Are you a human? The heavenly monster tribe girl looked at Li Zongjiu. She had initially thought that it might be someone from the Sparrow Divine Palace who had made a move. However, after thinking about it, there were only so few people left in the Heavenly Sparrow clan. If there really was someone, they would have already made a move when she had destroyed the Sparrow Divine Palace. Where did Li Zongjiu come from? The second elder of Heavenly Bird Tribe was shocked when she saw Li Zongjiu. Back then, they had all thought that Li Zongjiu was not worthy of Qi Yanran. They had even sent an apostle to kill Li Zongjiu in order to sever Qi Yanran's longing for Li Zongjiu so that she could cultivate peacefully and recreate the glory of the Sky Sparrow race. They had never thought that this ordinary person who they looked down on would come across the sky. They did not know how far he had crossed. It was quite shocking for them. The fact that Li Zongjiu was able to find this place proved that he was stronger than them. They had even threatened to assassinate Li Zongjiu. It was too embarrassing. Be careful of his art of creation. The great elder reminded Li Zongjiu. Although they did not like Li Zongjiu was the only one who could save them now. Li Zongjiu was the only one who could save them. It should be known that Li Zongjiu's purpose was the same as theirs, which was to rescue Qi Yanran. As long as Qi Yanran was still alive, everything would be fine. After all, the inheritance of the Heavenly Sparrow clan had been handed over to Qi Yanran. Furthermore, the Green Bird platform could not fall into the hands of Heavenly Monster Tribe. I have never seen a human as strong as you. This is a matter of the Eldritch Demon realm. It has nothing to do with the human tribe. The young lady of Heavenly Monster Tribe said slowly. He actually let down his guard in front of Li Zongjiu. It was as if he was saying that even if he wasn't on guard now, Li Zongjiu couldn't do anything to him. In that case, there was no need to be afraid of the person in front of him. No matter what you do, I have the confidence to defend myself. She did not care about Li Zongjiu at all. I don't care what you do. Today, I will take the flying bird platform away. I will kill anyone who dares to stop me. Li Zongjiu said in a serious tone. Heavenly Monster Tribe and Heavenly Bird Tribe had nothing to do with him. If they wanted to play a game of dominance, they should go to the side and not disturb Li Zongjiu's people. Otherwise, Li Zongjiu would not have to be polite with them. You are not qualified. The young lady from the Heavenly Demon Tribe shook her head slowly. Clearly, she was ignoring and rejecting Li Zongjiu directly. In the eyes of the young lady from the Heavenly Demon Tribe, Li Zongjiu was extremely weak. There was nothing to be afraid of. Very well. Li Zongjiu's lips curled into a cold smile. Then, he put away the unparalleled sword. I want to see how stubborn your mouth is. Li Zongjiu was obviously going to attack. And he did not plan to use his sword. This guy from the Heavenly Demon Tribe really knew how to act. In that case, Li Zongjiu would definitely let this guy have a taste of the power of the evil supremacy. In an instant, Li Zongjiu moved. He attacked first. He pointed at the young lady of Heavenly Monster Tribe. It looked like a simple point, but it had completely sealed the space around the young lady of Heavenly Monster Tribe. No matter which direction she ran in, there was no way she could escape. Boom! The young lady of Heavenly Monster Tribe also pointed with her finger. She was not afraid of Li Zongjiu's attack. As for the seal around her, she casually raised her hand and shattered it. Both of their fingers pointed at the same time. Immediately, a wave of terrifying power surged out. It burst out from between the two people's fingers. It was as if a star had exploded directly. The terrifying destructive power instantly swallowed the two of them. Suddenly, a huge bell fell from the sky. The primordial bell. Boom! The primordial bell fell and covered the three elders of Sparrow God Palace and the Green Bird platform. The three elders appeared in the world of the primordial bell. They saw a pile of corpses in the distance. They should be the two Heavenly Demon Tribe puppets that Li Zongjiu had brought in. They had rushed into the primordial chaos region and were crushed into pieces. This Li Zongjiu can actually control the primordial bell. What kind of monster is he? The Great Elder sighed. Although he was in the primordial bell, he had not recovered his strength. He was bound by the chains and could not break free. Furthermore, all of his cultivation base had been sealed. Junior sister, wake up, the third elder had also woken up in a daze. Due to his heavy injuries, his current aura was extremely weak. However, under the first elder's call, he finally opened his eyes. Great senior sister! The third elder exclaimed when he saw the situation in front of him. He looked around and saw the primordial bell. It seemed that Li Zongjiu had succeeded. The Heavenly Monster Tribe girl looked at the primordial bell indifferently. She did not seem to panic at the appearance of the primordial bell. I was wondering why the primordial bell wasn't here. So it's in your hands. In order to protect the Blue Bird Dao platform, those three old things must have opened it as soon as they escaped. If that's the case, I really have to thank you. The Heavenly Monster Tribe girl seemed very confident. She had even predicted Li Zongjiu's move. You don't have to be so polite. Li Zongjiu sneered. Once Qi Yanran escaped safely, he would be able to take back the Green Bird platform without hesitation. It seems that the key to breaking through to the Absolute Saint realm is not the cultivation technique, but these things. Li Zongjiu said slowly. This made the Heavenly Monster Tribe girl look surprised, which was rare for her. You've actually reached this level. The two of them were floating in a space that was constantly shattering. It was as if they were in a bottomless abyss. If they were not careful, they would fall into the abyss. If they were sucked in by the storm behind them, they would be crippled. Even if they were extremely powerful, they would not be able to return. But clearly, the two of them were confident that they would not be swallowed by the storm behind them. Li Zongjiu was very curious about the heavenly monster tribe girl's background. He had never heard of her in his previous life. But Li Zongjiu did not have time to think about this. The heavenly monster tribe girl did not seem to want to waste any more time with Li Zongjiu. Since Li Zongjiu had already reached this level, she was indeed very surprised. But that was all. The heavenly monster tribe had to enter the sacred martial realm. They would use the power of the sacred martial realm to create a new heavenly monster tribe. It had taken them tens of thousands of years to give birth to a heavenly monster. They could not miss this opportunity. Chapter 1297. Li Zongjiu was also surprised by his opponent's strength. However, it would not be easy for the girl from the heavenly monster tribe to take down Li Zongjiu. The two of them seemed to be stalling for time. They were waiting for the flying bird platform in the chaotic Yuan Bell to be unsealed. However, the girl from the heavenly monster tribe wanted to test Li Zongjiu's strength. A carving knife appeared in his hand. He waved the carving knife casually in the void and summoned a dozen figures. All of them transformed into dragon sparrows and rushed toward Li Zongjiu crazily. Boom! Li Zongjiu used his limbs as well. His chaotic body made him invulnerable, possessing boundless power. He could easily block the dragon sparrow's attacks. Whoosh! Li Zongjiu's fist shook. The terrifying power of his fist shattered several dragon sparrows in the air. However, the rest of the dragon sparrows swarmed forward and dragged Li Zongjiu away. The young lady from the heavenly demon tribe gently waved the carving knife in her hand towards the mountain behind her, cutting off the tip of the mountain. Then, she casually directed the mountain to smash towards Li Zongjiu. Mountain toppling golden seal. A ray of light smashed the top of the mountain. The handprint continued to fall toward the girl. However, the girl waved her carving knife and created a wall of air in front of her. It blocked the remaining power of Li Zongjiu's mountain-toppling golden seal easily. The carving knife in her hand danced between her fingers and slashed in the direction of Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu immediately felt as if the space around him had been cut open. Whoosh! Li Zongjiu broke the shackles in front of him with a punch and instantly landed on the ground. Two dragon sparrows chased after him. Li Zongjiu grabbed it with both hands and pressed it to the ground. He crushed it and turned it into a pile of mud. Your tricks are useless against me. The other party's technique was somewhat mysterious. Even if the three elders of the Sky Sparrow clan joined forces, they were still unable to withstand it. However, Li Zongjiu had just finished speaking. The girl opposite him sneered. Really? Li Zongjiu also subconsciously looked at the ground. It turned out that this stinky girl had actually directly drawn a formation without him noticing. At Li Zongjiu's level, although he could not tell what kind of formation it was for the time being, Li Zongjiu still could not figure it out. However, it had to be known that the other party had broken the level 10 array of the Divine Sparrow Palace. The other party's array formation cultivation had to be above his. Oh no! Li Zongjiu bellowed and threw a punch at the space in the distance. But it was too late. The other party was also a top-notch expert in this area. His strength and realm were even above Li Zongjiu's. Therefore, under the situation of this situation, as a result, Li Zongjiu had fallen into the trap. Immediately, the array was activated and completely trapped Li Zongjiu. Boom! Li Zongjiu felt the power around him spreading. He was slightly surprised as the world around him began to change. Layers of mountains seemed to be stacked on top of him. 100,000 mountain arrays. It's enough to keep you busy for a while. The girl from the heavenly monster tribe heaved a sigh of relief when she saw Li Zongjiu trapped in the array. In comparison, Li Zongjiu was still a considerable threat. After all, Li Zongjiu's strength had already surpassed the elders of the Sky Sparrow clan. She could not afford to be careless in this matter. There could not be any accidents. Therefore, trapping Li Zongjiu in the array was the safest way. You have cultivated the chaotic body. If not, you would have died long ago. The girl from the heavenly monster tribe said indifferently. Fortunately, she had kept a trick up her sleeve and set up an array. Now, it was not wasted. It was put to good use. With their strength, they will be able to break my chains in less than 5 days. As for releasing the people in the Flying Bird Dao platform, we must make these people feel despair. The girl put on her hat again. Then, she sat down cross-legged and meditated. As she cultivated, the carving knife in her hand turned into a ray of light. The heavenly monster tribe's original treasure. The blade of creation. The blade of creation had the ability to steal the heavens and earth. It could truly turn something rotten into something magical. It was difficult to see through it. Such a treasure could not be duplicated. The girl from the heavenly monster tribe also relied on the power of the blade of creation to cultivate. Inside the chaotic Yuan Bell. 5 days had passed. The third elder's cultivation had recovered and he had finally removed the chains that bound the two of them. As for the poison in the third elder's body, he had already taken the antidote. Now, Li Zongjiu was halfway to success. At least, they did not fall into the hands of the heavenly monster tribe. However, they were still trapped in the chaotic Yuan Bell. It was only relatively safe. With my current level of control over the chaotic Yuan Bell, it is not difficult to get out. The first elder said slowly. However, even if he went out now, he wouldn't know what was going on outside. In the end, he would only fall into the tiger's den. Instead, it was safer to hide inside the primordial bell. Could that person also control the chaotic Yuan Bell? The third elder had seen Li Zongjiu's strength, but no one would have thought that Li Zongjiu could directly control the power of the chaotic Yuan Bell. Impossible. Although I don't know how Li Zongjiu did it, it would take at least 100 years to master the chaotic Yuan Bell. Even Li Zongjiu seems to only be able to control the chaotic Yuan Bell. He can't use it to attack. Otherwise, the heavenly monster tribe would not be his match. The first elder said in a deep voice. Before Li Zongjiu opens the chaotic Yuan Bell, let's not go out. We will stay here and guard the green bird platform. Yes. The three of them agreed unanimously. It was a very good decision. If they went out, they would die. Although they were trapped in the chaotic Yuan Bell and had no freedom, it was still relatively safe. However, the three of them did not relax for long. Then, he felt the world of the primordial bell shake slightly. Could it be that Li Zongjiu defeated that guy? It must be. Otherwise, the chaotic Yuan Bell would not be opened. The three of them discussed. In the next moment, the chaotic Yuan Bell was lifted. A black shadow appeared in front of the three of them. The chaotic Yuan Bell fell to the ground with a loud bang. A dazzling light shone on them. This was a completely different world from the outside. It was not the same state. It's her. The first elder and the others could not wait to see how the battle was going. However, all they saw was the girl in black from the heavenly monster tribe. Sorry to disappoint you. Chapter 1298. The hearts of the three Sparrow God Palace elders skipped a beat when they saw the young lady from the heavenly demon race. They wondered why Li Zongjiu wasn't here. Could it be that Li Zongjiu had been killed? I've trapped your helper. He won't be able to get out for at least 8 to 10 years. The girl from the heavenly monster tribe said slowly. They were in despair. The three of them were in complete despair. Now, this last hope had been completely obliterated. They were completely drowned by the girl from the heavenly monster tribe. There was no chance for them to turn the tables. The hearts of the three elders seemed to have fallen to the bottom of the valley. You two, take the blue bird platform and leave. The great elder suddenly shouted. He flipped his palm and sent the two of them flying. At the same time, the blue bird platform flew up. The great elder used all his strength and rushed toward the girl from the heavenly monster tribe. Boom! He waved his palm. The girl from the heavenly monster tribe was completely covered. The surrounding wind and clouds were like a turbulent undercurrent, drowning her. However, the girl from the heavenly monster tribe didn't move at all. Boom! The palm hit nothing. It was just a clone. The first elder's heart skipped a beat. The next moment, there was a loud boom. The two elders who were sent flying were also trapped by two powerful forces with a boom. At the same time, the girl from the heavenly monster tribe appeared behind them. With a wave of his hand, a few silver needles appeared in his hand and instantly pierced into the temples of the two men. Pfft! Ugh! Immediately, the bodies of these two people stiffened. They did not have the slightest bit of strength to resist and were directly fixed in place by the other party. At the same time, the silver needle entered their bodies and instantly controlled them. These two are under my control. Do you think you can turn the tables? The girl in black said slowly. I'll only take the blue bird platform for 10,000 years. After 10,000 years, you can find someone to take it back. If I give it to you, the entire primitive demon realm will be destroyed. Even if the heavenly sparrow tribe is destroyed, we won't give it to you. The first elder shook his head slowly. This was a rule that had been set a long time ago. Even the old ancestor had made it clear that these items could not be handed over. In fact, they could not even be placed together. He had to tenaciously guard it. If he couldn't take it, then he would destroy it. Your death is naturally not a problem. Do you want these people to die with you? Don't you know how many people have already died? The black-clothed girl said indifferently. If I wanted to kill that young man, it would be as easy as flipping my hand. And the people on the Blue Bird Dao platform, are you willing to sacrifice them? Your heavenly sparrow clan is the real cold-blooded one. When it came to the death of this young man, the black-clothed girl was keenly aware that the blue bird platform in front of her suddenly trembled slightly. The black-clothed girl's eyes suddenly became sharp. His gaze instantly locked onto the blue bird platform. Immediately, a ray of cold light was released from the blue bird Dao platform. With the appearance of the cold light, the originally gentle blue bird Dao platform suddenly became extremely troublesome. It was difficult for anyone to get close to it. Anyone who got close would be forced back by the blue bird Dao platform. Even the black-clothed girl was stunned by this aura for a moment. This is interesting. The great elder of Sparrow Divine Palace was stunned when he saw this scene. Then, he couldn't help but reveal a look of ecstasy because this fluctuation meant that the great elder of Sparrow Divine Palace Qi Yanran had already completed all the inheritance tests. However, he did not know whether it was a good or bad thing for her to appear now. The first elder had no way to stop this from happening. He could only wait and see. But did Qi Yanran really complete the inheritance? How could it be so fast? How long had it been? No matter how talented she was, she would need decades, or even hundreds of years to complete the inheritance test. Whine. Suddenly, a ray of five-colored divine light was released from the Blue Bird Dao platform. The light gushed out and immediately shone brilliantly. Boom! The entire No Luo mountain range immediately released an extremely terrifying aura. The first elder was also forced back by this aura. However, it was also quite shocking. The first elder couldn't help but reveal a look of surprise on his face. Such a terrifying and pure five-colored divine light. The first elder was pleasantly surprised. One must know that after cultivating for so long, the power of the five-colored divine light that she had gathered was not even 1/10,000th of this power. Only after obtaining the true inheritance would one be able to release such power. Only then could she reach such a level. The black-clothed girl used the blade of creation in her hand to encircle her body and barely block the five-colored divine light. Then, a white figure appeared from the Blue Bird Dao platform. The figure was immediately surrounded by this tyrannical power. Boom! The desolate heaven essence turned into a ray of light that twined around the figure. Chirp chirp. A light blue bird landed on the figure's shoulder. It was simply combing its feathers. Yanran, the first elder's eyes were filled with hot tears. The power of the ancestral bird, the complete power of the ancestral bird. The first elder's eyes were filled with hot tears as he watched this scene unfold. He had been waiting for this for a long time, and today, he could finally see this scene. It finally appeared. The black-clothed girl stood in the air. When she saw the person in front of her, she was slightly surprised. Qi Yanran's gaze gradually converged. She stretched out her hand and the desolate heaven essence appeared in her hand, transforming into a long staff. Qi Yanran first glanced at the first elder in front of her. There was no emotion in her eyes. Then, she looked at the black-clothed girl in front of her. "Where is Li Zongjiu?" Qi Yanran asked. Obviously, Qi Yanran had sensed Li Zongjiu's existence and completed the inheritance in advance at such a juncture. How strong was her willpower and talent? However, before the black-clothed girl could speak, Qi Yanran's gaze was fixed on a pile of rocks below. A ray of light flashed in her eyes. She immediately discovered Li Zongjiu's figure. At this moment, Li Zongjiu, who was trapped in the large array, seemed to have sensed Qi Yanran's appearance. This was because the power of the desolate heaven essence was so clear. "Yanran!" Li Zongjiu roared in a low voice. At this moment, the 100,000 mountains that were pressing down on his body crumbled with a loud bang. Boom! Li Zongjiu swallowed the blood rupture elixir into his mouth. The sudden surge in power completely destroyed the power of the great array. Boom! Li Zongjiu's terrifying aura suddenly rushed to the sky. Yanran! Li Zongjiu's figure broke free and finally saw the white figure in front of him. Qi Yanran's delicate body also trembled. It had been a long time since she saw Li Zongjiu. This pair. What's going on? Even the black-clothed girl could not help but ridicule them in her heart. One of them had suddenly rushed out of the Green Bird platform for some unknown reason. And the other had actually rushed out of the level 10 array she had set up, the 10,000 Mountains array. Chapter 1299. Little girl, it took me a long time to find you. Li Zongjiu came to Qi Yanran's side and hugged her in his arms. He patted the back of Qi Yanran's head. Obviously, he was very dissatisfied with Qi Yanran's disappearance for half a year. Li Zongjiu did not expect that Qi Yanran would encounter such a thing. He had captured the mountain seagull to ensure Qi Yanran's safety. He did not expect to bring Qi Yanran to such a place. Fortunately, he had brought Qi Yanran back this time. He had finally found Qi Yanran. It was because of the mountain seagull that Qi Yanran was able to survive. It was difficult to distinguish the cause and effect. Most importantly, he had finally reunited with Qi Yanran. Originally, the two of them would not care about other things after reuniting. However, Li Zongjiu glanced at the people of Sparrow Divine Palace. Did they imprison you? Li Zongjiu's tone was extremely cold. There was a murderous look in Li Zongjiu's eyes. It was precisely because of these people's self-righteousness that they restricted Qi Yanran's freedom. This was something that Li Zongjiu would never allow. Otherwise, they would think that they could do whatever they wanted to Li Zongjiu's people just because they had some ability. Wouldn't that be lawless? He must teach these people a lesson so that they would remember it deeply. Don't blame them. They have their own difficulties. Qi Yanran held Li Zongjiu's hand. Then, she took a step forward. Although there was anger in her eyes, there was a trace of understanding. After all, the other party had given Qi Yanran an extremely important inheritance. This was the most important thing in the Sparrow Divine Palace. Because of Qi Yanran's physique, it was very suitable for cultivation. If they missed out on Qi Yanran, they didn't know how long it would take for them to have such an opportunity. Therefore, regardless of the consequences, they sent her to the Green Bird platform and forced her to accept the inheritance. At this moment, they were most worried because they did not know if Qi Yanran was really willing to accept such an inheritance. Now that Qi Yanran had obtained the inheritance of Sparrow Divine Palace, it would be a disaster for them if she was not willing to continue the inheritance. I will help you pass on your legacies. If there is a suitable person, I will teach her. I will not let this legacy end here. Qi Yanran said when she saw the concern in the elder's eyes. One had to know that these people had already resorted to all sorts of unscrupulous means in order to pass on this legacy. It was quite pitiful. It was quite pitiful for these three old men. They had waited bitterly for this legacy for such a long time. Thank you, young lady. According to the rules, now that you have obtained the inheritance of the Green Bird platform, you are now the Palace Master of Sparrow Divine Palace. We pay our respects to the Palace Master. The three elders of Sparrow Divine Palace knelt down in front of Qi Yanran. Li Zhongzhou's face was also filled with helplessness. These old fogies were indeed very stubborn. Rules were rules, and they had never thought of breaking them. Qi Yanran raised her hand casually and lifted the three of them up. You don't have to do this. I am not willing to be your palace master. This is a separate matter. Qi Yanran was kind by nature, but she was never sloppy when doing things. Who knew what kind of price she would have to pay and what she would have to do if she became the palace master of Sparrow Divine Palace? It was already good enough that she could pass on the legacy. Don't even think about binding her to the palace master. Li Zhongzhou naturally admired Qi Yanran's style. She was gradually becoming more and more like him. I see that you have finished chatting. Give me the Green Bird platform and I will not kill you. The Heavenly Monster Tribe girl was still standing aside, although she had been ignored. However, the girl wasn't angry at all. Instead, she patiently waited for the person in front of her to clarify the matter. Everything had to be clarified and understood clearly. We are done chatting. Now, it's time to settle the score between us. You used the Great Array to trap my man. It's time for you to pay for this. Qi Yanran's eyes were filled with murderous intent. It was because of this pressure that Qi Yanran was able to quickly refine the inheritance and even come out of seclusion in advance. However, her purpose of coming out was to beat up the Heavenly Monster Tribe girl in front of her. How dare she trap her Li Zhongzhou? This caused her to be rather angry and extremely displeased. Therefore, no matter what the situation was, she had to beat up the person in front of her first. Li Zhongzhou glanced at Qi Yanran in surprise. He didn't expect that this girl, who looked very weak, would be so cool when she stood up for him. Moreover, just now, the aura and fluctuations that Qi Yanran had erupted from her body were extremely powerful. Although Li Zhongzhou only felt a little, he was still shocked. This is going to be troublesome. Why do I feel that this girl is about to reach the absolute saint realm? This was something that Li Zhongzhou had never expected. To think that something like this could happen. Just because he had obtained some sort of inheritance, he actually had such a huge breakthrough. It was even more powerful than his elixir. Li Zhongzhou could not believe it. However, the Heavenly Monster Tribe girl smiled. Under the hat, her cold and emotionless eyes began to gather murderous intent. In that case, you can come at me together. A short knife appeared in her hand. At this moment, the Heavenly Monster Tribe girl was ready to attack. Now that the restriction of the Green Bird platform had been removed, she only needed to get this thing. She waved her hand. The primeval chaos bell followed his movements and flew up. With a loud boom, it trapped the three elders of the Sparrow Divine Palace once again. Boom! The three elders' faces were also filled with resentment and anger. However, there was nothing they could do. They could only watch helplessly as the chaos bell trapped them. As soon as they came out, they were trapped again. Qi Yanran did not hold back. The flying bird platform under her feet turned into a long rainbow and attached itself to Qi Yanran's back, becoming a pair of wings. The desolate heaven essence in her hand also turned into a turbulent light with a boom and whizzed out. Boom! Rumble! When the desolate heaven essence was thrown out, it shattered the air around it. It seemed to have created a terrifying fluctuation. It penetrated through space and headed for the girl in black. However, the girl in black did not dodge. The blade of destiny in her hand moved gently. It actually split the space into two halves. After swallowing the desolate heaven essence in Qi Yanran's hand, she waved her hand and several black shadows flew towards Qi Yanran. They were flying daggers. Li Zongjiu did the same. The soul-slaying dagger accurately deflected the flying daggers. There was no reason for him to just stand there and watch Qi Yanran attack. That would be too lazy. Moreover, Qi Yanran had just broken through and needed time to adapt to her strength. If she did not control it well, she might end up making a fool of herself and even give her opponent an opportunity to seize. The girl in black was not afraid of the two of them working together. Her figure flashed and rushed towards them. However, in the process, hundreds of figures appeared. Rumble! Every single one of them charged over with a thunderous momentum. The light wings behind Qi Yanran flapped gently, and tens of thousands of rays of light were released. They turned into cold rays of light that illuminated the sky and penetrated the dozens of figures that had transformed into illusionary figures. All of a sudden, the black-clothed girl's figure appeared out of nowhere. At the same time, she waved her hand and her left hand turned into a dragon claw. She grabbed at Qi Yanran. Oh! Qi Yanran did not expect her opponent to be able to transform into a dragon claw. The aura formed by the yuan power around her was immediately penetrated by her opponent's dragon claw. However, Li Zongjiu's figure appeared beside Qi Yanran and threw a punch at the dragon claw. Chapter 1300. Li Zongjiu's fist collided with his opponent's dragon claw. A tyrannical elemental energy wave instantly erupted. Li Zongjiu could clearly feel the vibration of his yuan energy. A look of surprise flashed across his eyes. His opponent was clearly surprised as well. She had not expected Li Zongjiu to be able to block her dragon claw. Furthermore, she could feel the same elemental energy from Li Zongjiu's body. Roar! Immediately, a ray of golden light emerged. The golden dragon original spirit instantly fell onto Li Zongjiu's body. At the same time, Li Zongjiu's body glowed with golden light as if he was a little golden man. Dragon original spirit. A look of surprise flashed across the heavenly monster tribe girl's eyes. Obviously, he didn't expect Li Zongjiu to be able to refine the dragon clan's original spirit. How did he do it? Could it be that he directly went to the Dragon Island and killed everyone? Whoosh! Another ray of white light came from behind her. Bam! The desolate heaven essence transformed into a rope and wrapped around the heavenly monster tribe girl's hand. At this moment, her hand was restored. Her hand was bound by the desolate heaven essence, but the heavenly monster tribe girl pulled hard and pulled Qi Yanran's body towards her. Boom! Bam! The light wings behind Qi Yanran suddenly shook, and the powerful force made Qi Yanran's figure stop. The two of them were in a stalemate in terms of strength. Nirvana cut. The unparalleled sword appeared in Li Zongjiu's hand. With a wave of sword energy, a torrential sword energy surged out. It was as if it could split heaven and earth. In the face of this sword that could almost kill him, he was shocked. A cold light flashed across the heavenly monster tribe girl's eyes. Clang! The blade of creation appeared and collided with her opponent's attack. With a loud boom, the three of them were sent flying by the terrifying shockwave. Before they were sent flying, the heavenly demon tribe girl waved her hand and threw a chi blade at Qi Yanran. Clearly, in the eyes of the heavenly demon tribe girl, Qi Yanran was more of a threat than Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu was very experienced in fighting. When he saw the other party attack, he did not hesitate to throw out the soul-slaying flying dagger. Bang! The moment they collided, it caused quite a commotion. The soul-slaying flying dagger whistled through the air and sped off into the distance. However, after Li Zongjiu stabilized himself, he summoned the soul-burning array before his opponent could react. The massive burning soul pillar descended from the sky, trapping the heavenly monster tribe girl inside. Boom! Suddenly, a terrifying aura spread out. The terrifying aura of the soul-burning formation rolled over. The strong aura also made Qi Yanran unable to open her eyes. Then, he saw a large array floating in front of him. Seeing this, Qi Yanran was also slightly surprised. She really didn't know where Li Zongjiu had gotten such a method. What a powerful formation! Qi Yanran said in surprise. Your wings are also not bad. Li Zongjiu said with a smile. However, the smile in his eyes was not as relaxed as before. This person is an expert in formations. My soul-burning formation will not be able to trap her for too long. Li Zongjiu said in a low voice. The other party could easily break the formation of the Sparrow God Palace and set up a formation to trap Li Zongjiu in an extremely short period of time. He knew that the latter's cultivation in formations was extraordinary. Then, let's go. Let's retreat first. Li Zongjiu said. Even the soul-burning formation was left here. Okay. However, the two of them did not have time to leave. Li Zongjiu's soul-burning formation exploded into pieces with a loud boom. A huge dragon sparrow emerged from the ruins with a roar. In that case, don't blame me for being ruthless. The heavenly monster tribe girl who had transformed into a dragon sparrow had a cold light in her eyes. She crushed the soul-burning pillar under her feet with her claws. Although the burning soul pillar refined by Wu Tian was extremely difficult, and the materials used were also extremely exquisite. However, Wu Tian's strength was limited. After all, there was a limit to how many soul-burning pillars he could refine. It was normal for it to be destroyed so easily by the other party. Furthermore, the figure of this dragon sparrow was constantly enlarging. Boom! In the end, the dragon sparrow's body was more than 10,000 feet tall. As the origin energy circulated and flowed, Li Zongjiu finally understood why the people of the Sparrow God Palace and the Dragon Tribe were so afraid of the Heavenly Monster Tribe and had to join forces to destroy the Heavenly Monster Tribe. A heavenly monster in its original form was extremely terrifying. Heavenly Dragon Sparrow. The name itself was so majestic and imposing. Roar! The Heavenly Dragon Sparrow spat out a flame that was 10,000 feet tall. The difference in size between the two parties was so huge that it could not be measured with the naked eye. Therefore, the other party's slight movement was enough to wrap them up. Li Zongjiu hurriedly took Qi Yanran and fled into the distance. However, halfway through, Qi Yanran seemed to feel that Li Zongjiu's speed was too slow. She hugged Li Zongjiu, and the light wings on her back expanded more than 100 times in an instant. Boom! With a slight vibration, the two of them were brought dozens of miles away. The unfalling mountain behind them had turned into a terrifying light and was completely engulfed by the flames. It's too big. Li Zongjiu could not help but complain. Qi Yanran seemed to have exhausted her strength, but the other party still caught up with them. It grabbed a mountain with its claws and smashed it toward Qi Yanran and Wu Tian. Qi Yanran immediately released the power of the light wings and trapped the two of them. Boom! Qi Yanran suddenly felt something sweet in her throat and spat out a mouthful of blood. After all, he had been hit by a mountain. Hide behind me. Li Zongjiu hugged Qi Yanran. After all, Qi Yanran had used up all her strength to dodge the other party's attack. At this moment, Li Zongjiu also consumed the last half of the blood-breaking pill. Immediately, he released the aura around him. The power of the 4 great dragon souls was unleashed without reservation at this moment. However, the 4 dragon souls were still very small in front of the other party. The heavenly dragon sparrow showed no mercy. As long as she killed Qi Yanran, she could get the blue bird platform and save the entire heavenly monster tribe. She could pass down the legacy of her tribe. She carried the mission of passing down the legacy on her shoulders. If she couldn't succeed, if she failed, everything would be meaningless. The heavenly monster tribe would cease to exist. In order to prevent such a thing from happening, she must complete the task. Even if she had to kill more people, it would be worth it. If you want to blame someone, blame them for blocking the way. In fact, the heavenly monster tribe girl had been merciful. However, in order to save her tribe, she had to be ruthless. Found it. It's really here. After Li Zongjiu took the blood-breaking pill, he immediately enlarged the white dragon original spirit. With the help of the white dragon original spirit, he quickly found a place that Li Zongjiu had studied in his previous life. Chapter 1301. Teleportation Formation. It was a top-notch formation in the world of formations. To set up such a teleportation formation, it required at least dozens of level 10 formation masters to carve it carefully at the same time. Only in this way could it be possible to open up this teleportation formation. However, Li Zongjiu had spent most of his time in the 3,000 years of his previous life on elixirs. He had only heard a little about formations and had a little understanding of them. However, he did not delve into them. Until now, Li Zongjiu was already a level 8 formation master. He had some understanding of formations. Since it was impossible to cross the limit of the great realm of desolation, there must be other ways to go to the sacred martial realm. Now, Li Zongjiu had come to the Buyuo mountain. He had been wandering in the great realm of desolation for a long time. Li Zongjiu was also consciously or unconsciously judging the surrounding terrain to see if the legendary teleportation formation really existed. Who knew that he would actually find it? Li Zongjiu immediately threw out hundreds of primordial stones of the highest grade. They all fell into the energy slot of the teleportation formation. The heavenly demon chased relentlessly. He also saw the teleportation formation that Li Zongjiu had found at a glance. A fierce light flashed in his eyes. He swung his tail downward. Boom! A huge force instantly descended. In order to prevent the heavenly demon from destroying the teleportation formation, Li Zongjiu summoned the power of the 4 primordial spirits and forcibly blocked the heavenly demon's attack. Boom! Li Zongjiu's mind was also trembling violently, as if he was violently shocked at this moment. Li Zongjiu also shouted in a low voice. He let out a painful roar. Obviously, the strength of the heavenly demon in front of him had exceeded what Li Zongjiu could bear. The heavenly demon's strength exceeded Li Zongjiu's by too much, so Li Zongjiu could not resist. This guy's strength is really strong. Li Zongjiu thought to himself. Even if he was at the peak of his previous life, he might not be able to defeat the person in front of him. In his previous life, he didn't know that there was such a terrifying expert. However, if it was Li Zongjiu at his peak condition in his previous life, he would at most be able to tie with this person in front of him. Unparalleled sword. Li Zongjiu cooperated with the power of the 4 primordial spirits and borrowed the power of the unparalleled sword. Immediately, a terrifying force was released. The terrifying power that was condensed and circulating on the unparalleled sword attracted all the Yuan power within a radius of 10,000 miles. You go down first and activate the formation. Li Zongjiu said to Qi Yanran behind him. Just now, Qi Yanran had also exhausted her cultivation. Because her control of the Blue Bird Dao platform was not perfect, the state she had displayed before had been forcibly displayed. Qi Yanran also fell into the array. The opponent's momentum was fierce. If she faced him head-on, she would indeed end up in a miserable state. Therefore, Qi Yanran also understood that she could only protect herself by leaving now. As for the Blue Bird Dao platform, after Qi Yanran had absorbed all the inheritance in it, it had become one with the Blue Bird Dao platform. Because the Blue Bird Dao platform had directly become Qi Yanran's life source magic treasure. Therefore, if she wanted to hand over her life source magic treasure, it would be equivalent to taking Qi Yanran's life. Fortunately, Qi Yanran's inheritance also contained the content and knowledge of this array. Although Qi Yanran had not reached the realm of a level 9 array master, in the study of this array, she was already superior to Li Zongjiu. This was because the inheritance of the Blue Bird Dao platform itself was a top existence. The essence of the Heavenly Sparrow clan for generations was all stored in the Blue Bird Dao platform. Therefore, such a situation had occurred. It had forcibly created a top expert, who was Qi Yanran. This was a huge bargain. Therefore, Qi Yanran agreed to help the Divine Sparrow Palace to continue the inheritance. After all, the benefits were too great. With Qi Yanran's help, the ancient array, which had been dormant for a long time, was immediately activated. Immediately, there seemed to be countless mechanisms moving under the array. Rumble. A series of terrifying noises erupted from beneath the ground. The power of hundreds of primordial stones was consumed in an instant. Qi Yanran patted her pocket. Suddenly, thousands of primordial stones flew out from her pocket and directly replenished the array. Immediately, the array, which was about to stop, began to operate crazily again. These primordial stones were obtained by Qi Yanran from the Blue Bird Dao platform. Although the Qi family was in the mining business, it was not easy to find so many primordial stones and take them all out at once. If it was in primitive sect, it would be possible. As for how much wealth was stored in the Blue Bird Dao platform, it was simply impossible to guess. Even Qi Yanran herself could not believe it. Generations of Divine Sparrow Palace members continued to pass down the inheritance. The accumulated wealth was stored in the Blue Bird Dao platform. Even the 3 elders of Divine Sparrow Palace did not know how much wealth there was. Now, it all belonged to Qi Yanran. Obviously, if Qi Yanran had enough time, her future achievements would be greater than Li Zongjiu's. You can't escape. The heavenly demon shouted. Below, he could clearly feel the activation of the transmission array. Immediately, the heavenly demon's attack intensified. Li Zongjiu relied on the unparalleled sword and half of the blood-breaking pill. He was able to resist for a while, but the pill's effect in his body was rapidly weakening. This made Li Zongjiu's heart sink. Zongjiu, the array has been activated. Qi Yanran suddenly shouted from below. Hearing this, Li Zongjiu's body shook and he wanted to fall down. Seeing this, the sky demon also reached out to grab him. You can't escape. Li Zongjiu did not dodge the attack. Instead, a cold light was emitted from his eyes. It was as if an ancient universe was changing in Li Zongjiu's eyes. Boom! At this moment, the sky demon's ferocious eyes were abruptly stunned. His body seemed to be frozen on the spot. His huge body was also frozen. Li Zongjiu's eyes turned blood red. Blood even flowed out from his ears and nose. Obviously, he had used the evil soul eye. In order to control the huge heavenly demon dragon sparrow, Li Zongjiu was severely injured. However, he still managed to control the heavenly demon dragon sparrow. He landed on the ground. Let's go. Let's teleport away first. Li Zongjiu grabbed Qi Yanran's hand. She felt Li Zongjiu's power. Although she did not know where the transmission array would teleport them, as long as she was with Li Zongjiu, it was enough. Boom! A terrifying spatial fluctuation immediately reverberated in the Buluo mountain range. Chapter 1302. The power of the formation instantly enveloped the two of them. Li Zongjiu held Qi Yanran in his arms. At this moment, there seemed to be countless sharp blades cutting back and forth on Li Zongjiu's body. Fortunately, Li Zongjiu practiced the ancient arts of invulnerability of Tyrant, so his body was rather tough. At the same time, he had fused with chaotic force and gained the chaotic body. Although the chaotic body was not extremely pure, it was still extremely tough. Li Zongjiu condensed his aura and hugged Qi Yanran tightly. Even with Li Zongjiu's cultivation defense, his skin and flesh had been cut open. Li Zongjiu kept screaming. Boom! The light instantly engulfed the two of them. In the blink of an eye, the two of them disappeared on the spot. However, the huge heavenly demonic dragon sparrow in the sky also disappeared. In the Buluo mountain range, the wind and clouds surged and calmed down again. However, the fluctuations that had erupted previously made all the creatures in the untainted land tremble. No one had ever thought about what had happened in the Buluo mountain range. No one dared to come and investigate. How much courage and strength must one have to be to enter the Buluo mountain range? Everything disappeared very quickly. As for Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran, it was as if they were walking in the darkness for a few seconds. Soon, they felt their bodies land on the ground and regained control of their bodies. Li Zongjiu relied on his strong willpower to support himself. Only then did he forcibly support his body and stand still. At the same time, he held Qi Yanran in his arms. Qi Yanran had already fallen into a coma. That level of shuttling just now was unbearable for her. Li Zongjiu's condition was stable, but not optimistic. The original energy in his body had disappeared. Even the 4 dragon souls had retreated into the original bead. Obviously, they were in a state of jealousy and dispirited. Even the state of his body was very poor. Li Zongjiu hugged Qi Yanran and looked around. The current situation was similar to the situation in the Holy Martial Continent. However, Li Zongjiu and the others seemed to have landed in a valley. The surroundings were quiet, but Li Zongjiu could clearly sense it. It seems that this is the legendary Holy Martial Realm. Although it was somewhat unbelievable, it was possible. Even Li Zongjiu could be reborn. At this moment, it was very normal to be directly transmitted to the Holy Martial Realm through the teleportation formation in the Buluo mountain range. The abundance of Yuanli and spiritual qi in the surroundings was many times higher than in the Holy Martial Continent. The density with spiritual qi was simply unbelievable. Even if he didn't do anything and just breathed naturally every day, he could easily break through. This is the legendary Holy Martial Realm. I don't know what will happen. In order to ensure safety and avoid accidents, Li Zongjiu also took Qi Yanran into the forest. At the side of a clear lake, Li Zongjiu first put Qi Yanran on the ground. Then, with the sharpness of the unparalleled sword, he cut down a few big trees and built a wooden house on the spot. Li Zongjiu's physical condition was very bad. However, this punch was also the strength of a sovereign. Without a doubt, this was the foundation. No matter how bad one's condition was, it would not be worse than one's foundation. Li Zongjiu made a bed and put Qi Yanran on it. He took care of her carefully. He checked Qi Yanran's pulse. It was just that she had overexerted herself and was too tired. She would be able to wake up soon after a few days of recovery. Moreover, the spiritual qi here was very rich, which was very suitable for healing. It was to avoid some unknown dangerous situations. Li Zongjiu also swallowed the elixir that he had refined before to recover his spiritual qi. The heavenly demon must have followed us. Li Zongjiu recalled the previous battle while recovering his spiritual qi. Although he was controlled by the evil soul Eye at the last moment, the stalemate did not last long. Moreover, Li Zongjiu just took a look. When he landed, there was no fluctuation of a teleportation formation. To be able to do this, it was basically certain that Li Zongjiu had been teleported twice. First, he had been teleported across realms. Then, he had been teleported again. It was a random teleportation in the Holy Martial Realm. Therefore, when he landed, there would not be any traces of a teleportation formation. However, in the Sacred Martial Realm, there must be a teleportation array that can receive people. If he wanted to go back, he would have to find this teleportation formation. However, if he could confirm that this was the Holy Martial Realm, he would not be in a hurry to leave. He would check out the surroundings first. Perhaps it was only possible to break through to the Absolute Saint Realm in this place with abundant spiritual qi. The surroundings were quiet, but he had to be careful. If the heavenly demon was nearby, he would not be able to escape in his current state. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye. During this time, Li Zongjiu did not leave Qi Yanran's side. With the help of the elixir, Li Zongjiu had recovered about 70% of his spiritual qi. Some of the internal injuries that he had suffered could not be healed with the elixir in his hand. He would need a long time to recuperate, or a higher grade elixir. During these 2 days, the surroundings were calm and peaceful. There was no movement at all. Not even a bird could be seen. Li Zongjiu could not help but feel strange. Could it be that there were no living creatures here? How could it be so quiet like a bird? On the 3rd day, Qi Yanran also woke up. Li Zongjiu hurriedly helped Qi Yanran up. "How are you?" Li Zongjiu checked Qi Yanran's condition. He found that Qi Yanran's spiritual qi had improved during the 3 days of coma. Instead, she had become stronger than before. This was too strange, but it was normal. How could the inheritance that Qi Yanran had received be so easy to digest? It was because Qi Yanran was eager to come out that she had unintentionally broken through a barrier and regained her freedom. Are we in the Holy Martial Realm? Qi Yanran was no longer the ignorant little girl she used to be. It was even possible that she knew more than Li Zongjiu. I think so. I don't know the exact location. I haven't left for 2 days. Li Zongjiu said. Let me adjust my breath first. Qi Yanran said. Okay. Qi Yanran immediately began to adjust her breath. Li Zongjiu also caught a fish in the pond. Although there was no bird, at least there was fish. He set up a fire and boiled the fish soup. Suddenly, the ground trembled violently. It seemed that a large number of people were moving. After Li Zongjiu heard the movement, he also got up and looked behind him. In the jungle, a large number of soldiers in armor came out. Chapter 1303. Although they were just ordinary soldiers, Li Zongjiu exclaimed with a single glance. The equipment of these soldiers was quite excellent. The craftsmanship of the armor and the material of the armor were also extremely top-notch. It was obvious that they were much more advanced. Their craftsmanship and standards far exceeded those of the Holy Martial Continent. A large number of soldiers rushed out and surrounded the small wooden house that Li Zongjiu wanted him to stay in. Who are you? Why are you at the Celestial Master Mountain? A valiant female general riding a tall warhorse walked out. She sized up the wooden house and then looked at the iron pot placed on the matchstick in front of Li Zongjiu. Celestial Master Mountain. Li Zongjiu didn't know what kind of place the Celestial Master Mountain was, but one of the cavalrymen behind the woman walked out. It's obvious that you're a spy from the fallen war realm. How dare you defile the Celestial Master Mountain? Take him down. The man shouted sternly. Li Zongjiu was extremely surprised because the strength of these people in front of him looked very ordinary. Although Li Zongjiu didn't expect everyone in the Holy Martial Realm to be at the Supremacy Realm, the cavalrymen in front of him were at most at the Origin Ancestor Realm. Moreover, they seemed to be a powerful leader. This made Li Zongjiu even more surprised. However, even in the holy martial realm, there would be areas where they were lagging behind. This was a very normal thing. Dozens of soldiers immediately surrounded Li Zongjiu. However, Li Zongjiu only raised his hand slightly, and a gust of energy blasted all the soldiers away, sending them flying back the way they came. Boom! When the cavalryman saw this, he also shouted and charged at Li Zongjiu. No! The female cavalryman beside him hurriedly tried to stop him, but it was too late. He was at the profound ancestor realm after all. Therefore, when he charged, a terrifying aura was formed. The spear in his hand was quite interesting. It was inlaid with various energy stones. The wind attribute was used to increase speed, the metal attribute was used to increase penetrating power, and the fire attribute was used to directly burn. The cavalryman stabbed at Li Zongjiu. However, Li Zongjiu only stretched out a hand and flicked his finger, sending the cavalryman flying from the back of his horse. Boom! The armor on his body suddenly exploded. After his armor was shattered, he fell to the ground with a loud thud. It was likely that he had suffered quite a heavy fall. Colonel Liao. Immediately, the armored soldiers ran in front of the young man and protected him completely. At the same time, they stared at Li Zongjiu in front of them with a rather fearful look in their eyes. All of you, stop! The female general immediately raised her hand. At the same time, he took off his helmet, swung his long hair, and jumped down from the horse's back. She handed the helmet where the guards. Be careful. Immediately, the guards around her said nervously. The other party's origin was unknown. If they rashly approached and the general was taken hostage, they would be in a very passive position. I am Jiang Bai, the general of the Sui Shan country in the Battle of Time realm. May I ask, are you the heavenly master of the Shan country? Jiang Bai's bright eyes stared at Li Zongjiu, as if he wanted to find an answer from Li Zongjiu's eyes. However, Li Zongjiu's eyes only had a puzzled look. Not only was he puzzled by Jiang Bai's words, but he was also puzzled by the messy names. Battle of Time Realm. Heavenly Master of the Shan country. I'm not. Li Zongjiu also didn't know what a Heavenly Master of the Shan country was. However, seeing how respectful these people were, they should be a group of powerful people. After all, we are new here. We can't be too high profile. Since this is the sacred martial realm, it means that there are many top experts here. Even Li Zongjiu didn't dare to say that he could win against these experts. For example, the existence of the heavenly demon tribe was far beyond Li Zongjiu's limit. This was very unexpected for Li Zongjiu. He didn't expect to meet someone whose strength surpassed his in the sacred martial realm. Even with the cultivation of his previous life, he probably couldn't defeat this guy. Since this is the sacred martial realm, there should be people stronger than the heavenly demon tribe. Therefore, Li Zongjiu needed to keep a low profile. Jiang Bai saw Li Zongjiu's denial and was quite puzzled by their battle of time. Immediately, he was moved. May I ask if Senior is a secluded cultivator? Have you been in seclusion for hundreds of years? Don't talk so much nonsense to test me. Come here and tell me in detail about the situation here. Li Zongjiu said as he pointed at Jiang Bai. How dare you? The soldiers around Jiang Bai were furious. What is the meaning of this? Is he treating us as a tour guide? How dare he come here and explain the situation to you? Who do you think you are? Shut up! Jiang Bai scolded. Are all the soldiers around him so blind? Can't you see that he can kill you if he wants to? Even if you brought 500 people, they won't even be enough for him to move his little finger. How dare you make a fuss here? You are simply courting death. Jiang Bai immediately unsheathed his sword. Jiang Bai knew that even if he carried a sword, he wouldn't be able to defend himself. Therefore, he decided to be generous. At least, he wanted to make Li Zongjiu happy and feel good. He came to Li Zongjiu's side and bowed. Then, he directly sat on the ground without any etiquette. Then, Jiang Bai began to explain the situation to Li Zongjiu. During the conversation, Jiang Bai guessed that Li Zongjiu should be the legendary secluded cultivator. He heard that this kind of person had an extremely high cultivation base and strength. However, they often went into seclusion for an unknown period of time. Every time they came out of seclusion, no one knew when they came out. This kind of person was powerful and carefree. They were pursuing the end of cultivation all their lives. They were unwilling to participate in any of the chaotic battles in this world. However, Jiang Bai hoped to get Li Zongjiu's help. After listening for a long time, Li Zongjiu finally understood the situation. Currently, the sacred martial realm was divided into upper and lower borders. The upper borders controlled the resources and life and death of the lower borders. At the same time, they also had their own enemies. It could be said that the entire sacred martial realm was divided into two major forces. The fallen cultivators. These cultivators worshipped the power of the demon god. The closest gathering place of the fallen cultivators was called the fallen battlefield. It was a vast and resource-rich region with all kinds of tribes living there. There were three major tribes in the fallen battlefield that controlled the situation. Jiang Bai was in the Battle of Time. In the Battle of Time, there were 6 lower kingdoms. In addition to the 6 main kingdoms, there were also many city lords who had formed an alliance directly. Together, they formed the Battle of Time. They fought against the fallen battlefield. They blocked the enemy's invasion. Chapter 1304. After listening for a long time, Li Zongjiu roughly understood the situation. At present, the most direct contact was the battle between good and evil between the fallen battlefield and the Battle of Time. If the fallen battlefield invaded, they would directly swallow up a peaceful territory and change it into a world under their control. They would be reduced to the so-called leadership of the gods and devils. Of course, the upper nation would not sit idly by. At the critical moment, they would step in to stop and turn the situation around. However, the situation was very simple. If one side was strong, the other side would also be strong. The situation would become even more chaotic. Therefore, the situation had not escalated yet. However, the war broke out day and night. They could be attacked by these fallen tribes at any time and place. It was quite dangerous. Especially recently, a major kingdom in the Battle of Time was directly conquered yesterday. This made the situation of the Battle of Time even more critical. Now, there was not much territory left in the upper nation. It was almost surrounded by the fallen battlefield. However, because of the existence of the heavenly master of the upper nation, he would often take action at the critical moment and directly kill the powerful fallen cultivators. Every nation would also establish a heavenly master mountain. They prayed and worshipped day and night, praying for the heavenly master to come and save the battlefield. Under the upper nation, there were now only 16 battlefields left. However, there were more than 50 battlefields in the fallen battlefield. There was a great disparity in strength between the two sides. The heavenly master of the upper nation naturally needed to oversee the important places. Sometimes, he simply could not care about these situations. Today, the general of the lower nation, Jiang Bai, immediately brought people over after sensing the movement in the heavenly master mountain. Originally, she came to kneel and worship, thinking that a heavenly master would come. However, who knew that the person who appeared was someone she had never seen before? Moreover, the person was excessively young, which did not match the image of the heavenly master she had seen before. She knew that the person in front of her was most likely not from the heavenly master of the upper nation. However, after her subordinate, Adjunct Liao, tested the strength of these people, she thoroughly understood the strength of these people. Therefore, Jiang Bai did not care about the identity of the other party at this moment. Anyway, it was fine as long as he was not from the fallen battlefield. Moreover, the Heavenly Master Mountain itself was also protected by the power of the Heavenly Master. The people who could appear here were definitely not simple. The reason why her subordinates were restless all day was because the battle in the past 2 days was too intense. Just call me Li Zongjiu. Jiang Bai also addressed him as Cultivator Li Zongjiu. Everyone in the sacred martial realm also addressed him as Cultivator Zongjiu. At this moment, Qi Yanran finished her cultivation. When she walked out, she saw the situation around her. She was a little worried at first, but after sensing it, she found that these people were very weak, so she was not worried anymore. Yanran, this is the general of the Sui country, Jiang Bai. This is my fiancé, Qi Yanran. Li Zongjiu said. He introduced Qi Yanran generously, but Qi Yanran blushed at once. She thought to herself, who is your fiancé? You haven't even proposed. However, Qi Yanran's body was very honest and generously accepted this title. This blockhead was finally enlightened. Greetings, Cultivator Qi. Just call me Yanran. Aren't we disturbing her? Qi Yanran walked in front of Li Zongjiu and held Li Zongjiu's arm. After seeing Qi Yanran at a close distance, Jiang Bai immediately felt an extremely strong sense of inferiority. The woman in front of him, whether it was her temperament or appearance, was unique and unparalleled in the world. After seeing her, people couldn't take their eyes off her. Jiang Bai thought that he was excellent. At the age of 20, he had killed thousands of fallen cultivators. His outstanding military achievements directly made Jiang Bai the most dazzling young man in the entire Sui country. Countless suitors came to her, but none of them were good enough. In Jiang Bai's eyes, he was also excellent. Ordinary men were not worthy of her. But when he saw Qi Yanran, although he didn't know her better, he compared her temperament in an instant. Even Jiang Bai felt extremely inferior when he saw her. The surrounding soldiers were even more stunned. They didn't even know how to turn their eyes. If Qi Yanran asked them to put down their weapons now, they would willingly put down their weapons without any threat. Humph. Li Zongjiu suddenly snorted coldly, awakening these people from their intoxicated state. Everyone felt as if a sudden clap of thunder had exploded in their minds, and their entire bodies instantly sobered up. If Li Zongjiu didn't wake these people up, their saliva would probably flow into a river. We're sorry for our rudeness, but the Celestial Master Mountain is too cold and quiet. It's not a place to stay for a long time. My general's mansion has a good guest room. If you don't mind, please come to my mansion. Jiang Bai quickly woke up and said. After taking such a big detour, it was all for the sake of inviting Li Zongjiu and Yi Shiwen out of the mountain. If he could get the two of them to take action, those people from the fallen war realm would not be able to pose a threat. Of course, Jiang Bai didn't expect them to take the initiative to help, but in times of crisis, they would help. Otherwise, the residents of the Sui country would also fall into an abyss of suffering. The consequences would be terrible. The existence of Jiang Bai and the others was to use their lives to block this threat. Do you want to go? Li Zongjiu looked at Qi Yanran. I'll listen to you. Okay, then let's go. Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran both knew Jiang Bai's intention. They had just come from the Xingwu continent, so they weren't clear about the situation here. Therefore, they needed to figure out the situation and find the teleportation array. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to return to the Xingwu continent. Since that was the case, they naturally needed to get in touch with these people to get more information. Jiang Bai's face suddenly revealed a look of surprise. Suddenly, a loud and urgent horn sound came from the sky above the Celestial Master Mountain. Listening to the horn sound, it seemed to resound through the entire sky. When Jiang Bai and the others heard this sound, their faces suddenly changed. Everyone, get on your horses. Go to the front line of the city gate. Jiang Bai also took the helmet and sword handed over by his subordinates, then turned and landed on the back of the horse. The two of you, the battle is urgent. Please forgive us if there is any inconvenience. We will come to you after the battle. Jiang Bai's expression was extremely solemn. After he finished speaking, he immediately led the hundreds of soldiers out of Celestial Master Mountain. They did not waste even a second of time. They couldn't care less about continuing to talk with Li Zongjiu and the others. In the blink of an eye, they all left. Just after these people left, intense and concentrated sounds of explosions came from afar. Rumble. Qi Yanran glanced at Li Zongjiu. Let's go and have a look. I will explain the situation here to you on the way. Okay, Lord Fiancé. Chapter 1305. The city that Jiang Bai and the others were guarding was called Suishan City. There were 1.5 million civilians in the city, and more than 200,000 soldiers were stationed here. But even so, in the face of the attacks of the powerful fallen ones, it was still quite troublesome, and often there would be extremely tragic sacrifices. When Jiang Bai and the others arrived at the city wall, the first wave had already begun fighting. Fortunately, they had powerful firearms provided by the upper country. It was enough to release a powerful artillery attack. The AoE damage caused by these cannons was also quite terrifying. The fallen ones were also extremely wary of these cannons. Sometimes, even if they had to sacrifice more, they would first blow up these cannons. Whether it was in terms of numbers or individual combat ability, these fallen ones were more powerful. Moreover, every attack was unusually fierce, which made it more and more difficult for these people to resist. How's the battle going? Jiang Bai heard the roar of the cannons, and the ground was shaking violently, making people feel incomparably shocked. Outside the city wall, an overwhelming number of figures were rapidly approaching, as if they were not afraid of death, fiercely rushing forward. Reporting to the general, this time, there are a total of 5 tribes in the fallen battlefield, and they are jointly attacking. What? 5. Jiang Bai and the others' faces suddenly changed, and at the same time, they took a pair of binoculars from their subordinates and immediately saw the battle flags of the 5 major tribes fluttering in the wind. Moreover, the chiefs of the 5 major tribes were also fighting, and the people around them were the elders of their respective tribes. They sat on the spacious lathe. There were also fruits and other things in their hands. While admiring the battle in front of them, they also enjoyed the things in their hands. And these people from the fallen clan no longer looked like complete humans. It was more like a combination of humans and beasts. Why do these people look so strange? Qi Yanran and Li Zongjiu both flew and landed on the city wall, looking down at the situation below, and were immediately shocked by the appearance of these half-beastmen. There were actually such people, and so many of them. It should be related to the cultivation method, and they gave up some of the characteristics of the human race, so they are called the fallen ones. Li Zongjiu thought to himself. That should be the case. He was neither a human nor a ghost. It was a little disgusting to see it appear in front of his eyes. He actually gave up being a good human and chose to become such a strange half-beast. It was precisely because they had become half-beastmen that they were extremely powerful and their physiques were incomparable to ordinary humans. Those 5 are almost at the Yuan King realm. Qi Yanran looked at the chiefs of the 5 tribes. In the past, a Yuan monarch was indeed very strong. However, the current Qi Yanran could crush a Yuan monarch to death with a casual flick of her little finger without any hesitation. The battle at the front line had already begun, and both sides were clashing head-on. The only advantage the human race had was that their equipment was of the highest quality. On the other hand, the beast men were in an extremely primitive state, and the weapons they used were the simplest stone axes and the like. The construction of the city walls here was also quite special. It was built using a kind of stepped city wall. There were a total of 5 city walls. The first one was also the shortest, about 10 meters tall. The second one was about 50 meters apart, which was double the height of the original one, and was 20 meters tall. The third one was 30 meters tall, the fourth one was 40 meters tall, and the fifth one was 60 meters tall. The fifth city wall was also the last defensive wall. If the enemy rushed to the fifth city wall, it would be equivalent to breaking through more than half of the city wall. Even if they defended to the death, the success rate would not be too high, and they would eventually be overrun. Now, there was an extremely fierce battle at the first city wall. The enemy's attack was quite fierce, and it was almost impossible to reach. In the blink of an eye, there were countless casualties. The enemy had mobilized at least 1 million people. Moreover, there were also quite a number of experts. The garrison on the first city wall was quickly defeated by the enemy. Immediately, the front line quickly retreated to the second city wall. Previously, Qi Yanran had also seen some advanced weapons in the research center of the White Deer Mansion, which used vitality stones as the power source. However, such products were not very developed in the Holy Martial Continent. However, in the Holy Martial Realm, these origin energy weapons were quite developed. There were all kinds of origin energy weapons, but Qi Yanran took a look and found that they could only deal with ordinary beastmen. For example, the 5 Yuan monarchs could only be harmed by those long, fixed cannons. Otherwise, they would only be able to kill these small soldiers with such weapons. Boom! 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 Those cannons were called origin energy cannons. Every time a cannon was fired, 1 upper-grade vitality stone would be consumed. Fortunately, upper-grade vitality stones were not considered precious in the Holy Martial Realm. Seeing the boxes of upper-grade vitality stones being used in the battle, Qi Yanran felt quite a bit of heartache. The vitality stones that the Qi family painstakingly mined were being used up here as if they were worthless. Sure enough, the resources that people of different levels cared about were different. They don't seem to be able to hold on for much longer. Although Li Zongjiu did not know how to fight, it did not take long for the second city wall to be breached. There were more than 10,000 soldiers who died on the city wall alone. Under such a fierce attack, the enemy's morale soared. Finally, one of the tribe leaders held back and wanted to give it a try. After all, such a grand scene was enough to make these people's most primitive animal instincts erupt. Roar! Watch me dismantle those origin energy cannons. The half-beastman tribe leader carried a 3-meter-long stone axe and rushed forward with a leap. Formation breaker, get ready. Follow me to kill the leader of this tribe. Jiang Bai immediately roared when he saw the other party leaving his tent. This gave Jiang Bai an opportunity to strike. The morale of his troops had plummeted. He needed to kill a few important leaders of the other party. Only then would he be able to reinvigorate the morale of his troops. Immediately, the 100 people of the formation breaker were ready to go. There was a special passage on the city wall for Jiang Bai and the others to move. Charge! Facing the hundreds of thousands of fallen soldiers outside the city wall, Jiang Bai did not have the slightest hesitation or fear. In such a battle, if he was afraid, there would only be one end, which was death. The mighty team immediately rushed out. Like a sharp knife, they cut open a gap in the army of the fallen and rushed directly to one of the leaders of the other side who had come out of the formation. Come on! Immediately, he waved the axe in his hand and chopped off the head of the person in front of him because they were blocking the way. The capture barracks protected Jiang Bai as they killed their way out, directly attacking the root of the problem. Chapter 1306. The scene of Jiang Bai charging forward bravely was witnessed by the defenders of Suishan City. Immediately, the war drums thundered, stirring the hearts of the people. Everyone waved the weapons in their hands and shouted hysterically, all for the sake of this battle. Seeing that their own general was so brave and fierce, they could not help but respect him. In the face of such a life-and-death battle, he he was willing to charge at the forefront. It was no wonder that the soldiers behind him were willing to sacrifice their lives for such a general. Li Zongjiu also looked at the weapon in his hand. It seemed to be quite strong. Adjunct Liao, who had wanted to deal with Li Zongjiu previously, was on the city wall as a reserve commander. However, at this moment, Adjunct Liao was also preparing for his next move. If there was a chance, he would definitely rescue Jiang Bai. They had to support each other, not abandon each other, and not give up on each other. Only then would they be able to resolve this matter perfectly and win this battle. Boom! While Jiang Bai and the others were surrounded, Jiang Bai instantly took out a lightning bead and threw it forward. It formed a large amount of lightning energy and directly killed a large number of beastmen. However, at this moment, the beastman leader took the initiative to charge towards Jiang Bai. He leaped up and chopped down with the giant axe in his hand. Immediately, he chopped down on the ground, forming an extremely terrifying explosive force that spread out in all directions. Rumble. Immediately, the defensive troops of the capture barracks were directly defeated by the opponent's axe. Boom. At least a dozen corpses were sent flying in the air. It was an extremely tragic end. Jiang Bai's body was obstructed, but there was also a floating shield in front of him. With this shield, he was able to block a lot of the shockwaves and stop his body. Fortunately, the power was not too strong. Although Jiang Bai's strength was only at the Yuan Zone realm, with the help of the weapon in his hand, it was enough to create a considerable amount of power. At least, the effect that he could exert was relatively strong. It was enough to be on par with a Yuan King expert. Come on! Jiang Bai had experience fighting against Yuan monarchs, but he had never managed to kill one. If Yuan monarchs were so easy to kill, this battle wouldn't have been so difficult. It was unknown how many lives had been lost. Although the number of soldiers in Suishan City was sufficient, most of them were just rookies and couldn't form much of an effective fighting force. However, as long as they persevered through today, these people would also become experienced veterans on the battlefield. Their usefulness would be unimaginably powerful. There were less than 20 brothers of the formation breaker left, and they didn't think of escaping. Instead, they guarded Jiang Bai and killed all the orc troops that surrounded them. The more he killed, the slower the blade in his hand became. They immediately looked at each other. One by one, they detonated a button in their hands. Immediately, dozens of terrifying powers spread out and exploded. The power of these explosions turned all the half-beastmen within a radius of 10 meters into powder. But at the same time, he also turned into a bloody mist. Immediately, the blood mist filled the air, condensing and not dispersing. Seeing this scene, the people on the city walls all clenched the weapons in their hands. Facing these beastmen who were about to charge up, they all gave their most furious attacks. He turned his grief and anger into strength. He killed all the people in front of him. Boom! Streaks of terrifying power were released. This battle was quite effective. Jiang Bai also used all her means. Li Zongjiu could see that Jiang Bai's strength wasn't very good, and the gap between her and the opponent was quite obvious. However, some of the origin energy weapons in Jiang Bai's hands were quite powerful. She could easily blast people into pieces. Among them, Jiang Bai also had a shield in her hand, which was enough to resist the opponent's attack and rebound all the power of the opponent's attack. Clang! Clang! Jiang Bai's figure retreated again and again. She felt the power of the opponent's attack. When the attack came, Jiang Bai kept retreating. Although the opponent's power was blocked by the origin energy weapons in her hand. However, the remaining force was enough to force her back to this point. Damn it! Jiang Bai always held a dagger in her hand, and she was looking for an opportunity to stab the half-beastman in front of her with the dagger. As long as she stabbed the half-beastman, she would be able to kill him. At this moment, Jiang Bai was also enduring the force of the other party's attacks. Jiang Bai felt as if his arms were about to break. Then, Jiang Bai's heart sank slightly. The continuous resistance made the half-beastman leader in front of her impatient. After a few continuous attacks, he finally revealed a flaw. However, just as this flaw appeared, a figure quickly attacked. Boom! A person appeared directly from the side. Then, a huge iron staff swung over. When Jiang Bai saw this, he felt a strong gust of wind slapping his face. Bang! Jiang Bai was directly sent flying. Her figure suddenly flew hundreds of meters away. Puff! Jiang Bai directly spat out a mouthful of blood. This sudden attack caught Jiang Bai off guard, and she couldn't even resist the terrifying power. Jiang Bai was instantly seriously injured and fell to the ground. When the people in Suishan City saw this scene, they immediately felt distressed. Seeing their general in such a dangerous situation made them even more nervous, and they immediately wanted to rush out of the city. General! General! Everyone roared angrily. Even Adjunct Liao directly ordered people to open the city gate, but the guards in charge of the city gate had already received General Jiang Bai's order. If she died outside, they must not open the gate. Adjunct Liao, the overall situation is more important. Adjunct Liao, the overall situation is more important, please think thrice before you act. Everyone stepped forward and said. However, this also caused Adjunct Liao to be immediately blocked, and he even missed the best opportunity to rescue Jiang Bai. If he also went down, there would be no one on the city wall to guard and command, and the result would be that the city wall would be breached. Jiang Bai turned over and stood up, but she no longer had the strength to resist the attack of the half-beastmen. The half-beastmen around her were about to swallow Jiang Bai. At this moment, a white figure descended from the sky. Boom! After the person landed, he directly released a strong impact, and directly sent the half-beastman within a radius of 500 meters flying. It directly formed a vacuum zone. Boom! Boom! Even the two orc leaders were sent flying by the impact. Chapter 1307. When he saw the person in front of him, Jiang Bai heaved a sigh of relief. However, when Jiang Bai saw the changes brought about by this person, he was shocked. It was the girl just now. Jiang Bai originally thought that Li Zongjiu would be the one to attack. After all, Li Zongjiu was the one who looked strong. However, when he saw Qi Yanran in front of him, he was stunned. All of a sudden, he was stunned. Was Qi Yanran's strength also so strong? No, it seemed that Qi Yanran's strength was even stronger than Li Zongjiu's. Roar! Seeing this, the two orc leaders immediately roared. They couldn't wait to kill Qi Yanran in front of them. She had actually sent them flying just now. However, at this moment, they were in a killing frenzy. Naturally, they didn't care about these things. They must kill Qi Yanran as well. Boom! Immediately, the two of them burst out with terrifying power and charged toward Qi Yanran and Jiang Bai. Miss Qi, be careful. These two are Yuan kings. Jiang Bai said hurriedly. Qi Yanran waved her hand gently. Suddenly, a white light swept out from her wrist. Boom! The white light instantly turned into a cold light and blasted toward the two orcs. Whoosh! Whoosh! The white light flashed gently and split the two Yuan monarch beastmen in front of him into two halves. Obviously, the light in her hand was extremely sharp. At the same time, Qi Yanran waved her hand. Before the orcs in the surroundings could react, the white light easily passed through their bodies. These orcs were easily cut into two halves. Bang! 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 Immediately, these beastmen were split in half with a loud bang. Bang! 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 Within a radius of 1,000 meters, the half-beastmen were instantly killed wherever they passed. Blood continued to gush out from the wound. Immediately, it spread out and converged into a river of blood. The originally boiling battle cries also instantly quieted down, causing everyone to feel quite shocked and extremely shocked. Even the people in Suishan City were stunned. All the soldiers rubbed their eyes. They weren't mistaken, were they? There were at least 1,000,000 fallen ones. Just a moment ago, they were as lively as a pot of boiling water. Now, they had become a pool of blood in the blink of an eye. Blood continued to gather. Blood gushed out of the wound non-stop. Qi Yanran grabbed Jiang Bai with one hand and leaped back to the city wall. Jiang Bai only felt his eyes flicker for a moment before he found himself back on the city wall. It was truly too miraculous and shocking. The young lady seemed to be around the same age as her, but what did she do? With a wave of her hand, she annihilated the half-beastman army. Was this really happening? Could it be that she was hallucinating? Even if the real heavenly master of the upper kingdom came, he might not have such means. It wasn't just these ordinary orcs. In fact, even the 3 leaders who had yet to make a move were directly obliterated. Indiscriminate attacks had obliterated all of them. All dead. Everyone's eyes were also filled with shock and horror. When they saw this scene, they even confirmed with their comrades that they were not dreaming. Liao Kanjun and the others on the city wall gasped when they saw this scene. When they looked at Qi Yanran, the look in his eyes had already changed from amazement to complete worship. She was a god. A goddess. She must be the goddess of the holy heavens. The goddess of the holy heavens. The one who attacked just now must be the legendary goddess of the holy heavens. Someone shouted loudly. The goddess of the holy heavens had easily obliterated millions of half-beastmen. Wiping out the 5 fallen armies in front of him left everyone feeling incomparably shocked. They were even more excited and shocked. The goddess of the holy heavens. The goddess of the holy heavens. Everyone shouted loudly. Jiang Bai also realized that Qi Yanran's attack had completely convinced the soldiers in front of him. Are you really? Jiang Bai looked at the person in front of him in disbelief. However, Qi Yanran only shook her head gently. You can deal with the rest yourself. Qi Yanran did not want to see such a good girl sacrificed in vain. In such a long period of war, it was extremely easy for many respected and worshipped war heroes to appear. However, many people would be forgotten or even forgotten by others. It was difficult to get in touch with them and understand them. Therefore, Qi Yanran also hoped that she could save some of this tragedy. Immediately, Qi Yanran's figure flashed and disappeared on the spot. Then, she appeared beside Li Zongjiu. Jiang Bai also ordered to go out of the city to clean up the battlefield. At least, they had to pick up the corpses of their brothers from the formation breaker. At the same time, Jiang Bai had already made a plan to counterattack. The other side occupied the frontier fortress, which was why they could form such a large-scale joint attack. At this moment, most of the other side's elite troops were lost here. However, the combat power of Suishan City did not suffer too much loss. Immediately, these people set off to take down this important passage. You won't blame me for changing their fate, right? Qi Yanran returned to Li Zongjiu's side. She asked softly. Everyone had their own fate. Even in the view of many cultivators, the great Tao could not be violated. If something happened, they naturally needed to maintain the status quo. Because changing a person's fate was very likely to cause a chain reaction. It would cause a series of effects, and sometimes even have some bad effects on oneself. Li Zongjiu looked at Qi Yanran in confusion. What's wrong with that? A real expert goes against the heavens. If he wants to go against the heavens, he will go against the heavens. If he wants to go against the Tao, he will go against the Tao. No one in the world can stop him from doing anything. Li Zongjiu said heroically. One had to know that Li Zongjiu had always believed in these things. As the evil lord of this generation, he did not need anything else. As long as he was strong, he naturally had everything else. Therefore, Li Zongjiu did not care about other people's opinions. As for what was the heavens and the Tao, it was hard to say. However, as long as he adhered to his own heart, there would be no problem. At least in Li Zongjiu's opinion. Even this time, he even came back to life to go against the heavens and change the fate of the entire Li family. To change all the disasters and pain in his previous life. Of course, only those with great strength could achieve this. Chapter 1308. Nearly 1,000,000 fallen ones were wiped out. Even the people who were cleaning up the battlefield could not believe such a shocking scene. Every corpse had died in an extremely straightforward manner. Not only were they severed, but before their bodies were severed, they had already lost all signs of life. She was indeed the saintess. Everyone was also muttering the name of the saintess. After all, only the legendary saintess could do such a thing. Obviously, Jiang Bai did not explain so much. Instead of telling them that she did not know the identities of Qi Yanran and Jiang Bai, it was better to just admit that they were mysterious. After Qi Yanran's attack, Adjunct Liao, who was originally biased against Li Zongjiu, did not dare to say anything at this moment. He did not even dare to act rashly in front of Li Zongjiu, because they could not stop Li Zongjiu's skills. The strength that Qi Yanran displayed was extremely terrifying. She was as powerful as the legendary saintess. It was possible that she was really the saintess of the holy altar. The battlefield was cleaned up for a day. That night, Jiang Bai directly led people to attack the Black Snake Ridge Fortress. This place was an important place. If they could take it down, it would greatly improve the pace of their attack and at the same time, stop the Fallen War Realm's attack. It was a very beautiful battle. Order 50,000 people to patrol and station here. If they find anyone from the Fallen War Realm, kill them without mercy. In addition, immediately dispatch 20,000 craftsmen from the city to build the Black Snake Ridge Fortress. Jiang Bai said as she sat on the warhorse. When she looked around, she saw that the country under her feet had been conquered again. Such a long-awaited victory was quite rare for Jiang Bai. It should be known that under the current situation, the human clan cultivators could only bitterly resist the attacks of the half-orcs. In the end, they could only be defeated. Once it was breached, who knew how many humans would be sacrificed? At that time, they would find that more and more people were sacrificed. There were fewer and fewer survivors. If the Fallen War Mirror were to devour the entire continent one day, who knew what kind of scene it would be? It was precisely because of the urgent battle situation that they were in such a predicament. Countless generals had already died in front of them. Therefore, when it came to Jiang Bai, she was directly promoted to the position of general. Fortunately, Jiang Bai's strength wasn't weak. At first, these soldiers thought that they were going to die. They didn't expect such a girl to be the leader of an army of 200,000 soldiers. However, the strength and boldness that Jiang Bai displayed made these people truly feel the terror of his strength. Moreover, today's victory would definitely reach the ears of the Sui Kingdom's king. This time, he would definitely be rewarded and rewarded. It would make people envious. All in all, taking back the Black Snake Mountain Fortress was equivalent to stabilizing his territory. Furthermore, the 5 tribes of the Fallen War territory could be considered the main force. Now, all of them had died in battle without a single survivor. This could be considered a heavy blow to the Fallen War realm. At the very least, it would allow the countries in the War of Time to take a breather. Immediately, the people of Suishan City started to move frantically. If they moved a little faster, they would have a higher chance of survival and they would be able to save more people. Jiang Bai also ordered people to prepare some precious gifts. There were several pieces of transcendent-grade primordial stones. After coming to Suishan City again, he asked around and found out that Li Zongjiu and Jiang Bai were staying in an inn in the city. Now, the inn's business couldn't be done at all. It wasn't easy for two guests to come, and this made the innkeeper very happy. He wanted to extort a good sum of money from them. After all, it was chaotic these days. Who knew if they would stay here today and lose their heads the next day? However, on the second day, the hero of Suishan City, General Jiang Bai, came personally. General Jiang Bai was brave and good at fighting. Moreover, he had charged at the front lines many times. His outstanding achievements were remembered by the people, so they naturally knew his identity. When he saw Jiang Bai, the manager welcomed him with a smile. "There's no need to be so polite. Let me ask you, where are the two guests who stayed yesterday?" After all, only the soldiers were able to see the grand scene of the saintess killing millions of fallen soldiers with a single move. As for the others, they hadn't seen it with their own eyes. They had only heard of it. Therefore, they didn't know the identity of Qi Yanran and Jiang Bai. However, the two of them seemed to be from outside the city. Moreover, they were quite generous when they took out two high-grade primordial stones. That was why the manager had the guts to rob them. They're resting upstairs. Did the two of them commit a crime? The manager was a little nervous. "I heard that your inn is famous for being unscrupulous. Let me give you a piece of advice. If you offend the two of them, your entire family can forget about living." Jiang Bai glanced at the shopkeeper. When Jiang Bai was talking to Li Zongjiu, his attitude was gentle. However, this did not mean that Jiang Bai was also gentle when talking to these people. In fact, it was very obvious. "I dare not. It's just a small business, a small business." The manager hurriedly retreated after hearing Jiang Bai's words. He was thinking about when to return the two high-grade primordial stones. After all, it was a large sum of money. If the two of them knew that he was deliberately cheating them of their money, the consequences would be troublesome. Perhaps what General Jiang Bai said would be true. "You guys go back to the barracks first. If you have any problems, you can report to me at any time," Jiang Bai said to several of his deputies. "At least one of you should stay. In case something happens, we have to take care of each other," a deputy general said. His general liked to be direct and efficient like this. He was never sloppy. "Go down. Adjunct Liao, you go down too," Jiang Bai added. "What? General?" Adjunct Liao was stunned. Jiang Bai also noticed that Adjunct Liao was arrogant and had a feeling that he wanted to target Li Zongjiu. This was a very dangerous signal. After all, according to Jiang Bai's observation, Li Zongjiu was actually a more powerful person. Otherwise, why would a strong person like Qi Yanran follow such a young man? As for Adjunct Liao, looking at his eagerness, Jiang Bai didn't know what he would do. "Jiang Bai, this is not a battlefield. Do you want to order me around? Come on, take Adjunct Liao away." Several deputies looked a little embarrassed, but soon they became firm. Although Adjunct Liao was a relative of the emperor, in the army, Jiang Bai had the highest authority. Chapter 1309. Adjunct Liao was considered an expert in the army. But there was always one bad thing about him. Because he was a member of the royal family, he often didn't know his position and often overstepped his authority, which made Jiang Bai very unhappy. Usually, there wasn't any big situation, so he endured it. After all, he might die one day, so there was no need to care so much. But this time, he finally had a chance to save the country. He absolutely couldn't let this guy ruin it. Cough cough, Jiang Bai sat in his seat. His injuries hadn't recovered yet, so he immediately coughed a few times. There was even a trace of blood in his mouth. However, Jiang Bai acted as if nothing had happened. After wiping the blood off, he sat like this, waiting for the arrival of Li Zongjiu or Qi Yanran. "General, This bowl of red dates and lotus seed soup can replenish your blood and qi. Drink it quickly. The shopkeeper served a bowl of steaming lotus seed soup and handed it to Jiang Bai. Thank you. Jiang Bai touched his waist pocket and found that he forgot to bring money. In other words, Jiang Bai didn't need to bring money at all. He was running around the battlefield every day. Why would he bring money? To bribe the enemy? General, the lives of our people in Suishan City were saved by you. How can you charge for this bowl of lotus seed soup? The shopkeeper hurriedly said. Seeing Jiang Bai's action, he naturally didn't want Jiang Bai to pay. If he even took this money, he would be too black-hearted. In that case, he would suffer retribution in the future. Remember it first, I will ask someone to send it later. After Jiang Bai finished speaking, he directly drank the bowl of lotus seed soup in one gulp. It could be considered as slightly alleviating the injuries in his body. Are you looking for me? Just as Jiang Bai put down the bowl, a voice suddenly sounded beside him. It also made Jiang Bai stand up with a whoosh. Please forgive me, senior. Jiang Bai had no choice. Jiang Bai quickly said. Li Zongjiu in front of him could definitely be said to be a ghost. He actually appeared in front of Jiang Bai in an instant, which made Jiang Bai completely unprepared. However, when Jiang Bai suddenly stood up, he once again aggravated the injuries in his body. Immediately, he coughed continuously because the aura in his body was not smooth. Li Zongjiu glanced at Jiang Bai's condition. The condition of his body could be said to be terrible. Although Qi Yanran fought in today's battle, Jiang Bai was actually in a state of near death. He was hanging on by his own breath. Senior, please take action and save us from the battle of time. Just as Jiang Bai was about to kneel down, Li Zongjiu reached out and gently pulled him up. You're about to die, yet you're still fighting for your life here. Li Zongjiu said. Jiang Bai's eyes dimmed. He was the only one who knew his own body's condition. It was precisely because his condition was so critical that he might not be able to hold on for more than a few days that Jiang Bai could not wait to find Li Zongjiu. Senior, please take action and save us from the danger of the battle of time. If you are willing to take action, you can easily save millions of lives. Jiang Bai said firmly. I don't care about these things. If you can give me what I want, I will give you what you want. Li Zongjiu waved his hand and said, indicating that he did not care about things like reputation at all. Therefore, he did not need to think about using these things to bind him. May I know what senior wants? Jiang Bai looked curiously at Li Zongjiu in front of him. He was already such an expert, what else could he not get? I need to know all the information about the teleportation array. Li Zongjiu said. Originally, Li Zongjiu could leave here and go to a higher level to look for clues. However, since Li Zongjiu and Jiang Bai came here, there might be a reason behind it. Moreover, Li Zongjiu still had not figured out the level of the top experts in the sacred martial realm. Before he made a breakthrough, he still needed to have enough strength to protect himself. Teleportation array. Jiang Bai was stunned. Then, he looked at Li Zongjiu in front of him with an extremely strange look in his eyes. Senior, have you been in seclusion for more than 3,000 years? 3,000 years ago, the 10 major teleportation arrays in the sacred martial realm carried out the ritual of the fallen at almost the same time, directly bringing countless fallen cultivators. Then, these fallen cultivators continued to be teleported out from the teleportation arrays. 2,000 years ago, the experts of the human race gathered in the sacred martial realm and joined forces to destroy 7 teleportation arrays, greatly slowing down the speed of the fallen cultivators' teleportation. But from that moment on, the vitality of the human race's sacred martial realm was greatly damaged. Now, 3 teleportation arrays are under the control of the fallen cultivators. Jiang Bai said. Li Zongjiu understood when he heard this. He did not expect the sacred martial realm to undergo such a great change 3,000 years ago. It could even be said that it was an earth-shattering change. Therefore, when he heard about this matter, he was quite shocked. The remaining 3 teleportation arrays are completely protected by the fallen cultivators. The experts of the sacred martial realm have organized several attempts, but in the end, they all failed. They did not destroy the teleportation arrays, but they did slow down the speed of the fallen cultivators' teleportation. They set up some traps. If any fallen cultivators were to teleport here within 100 years, the weak ones would be directly obliterated in the arrays. Only the strong ones could survive. I see. It seems that it will be a little troublesome. Li Zongjiu nodded, then looked at the pale-faced Jiang Bai in front of him. With a wave of his hand, a stream of yuan qi was injected into Jiang Bai's body. It immediately helped Jiang Bai recover from his internal injuries, whether they were new ones or old ones. It only took 5 or 6 seconds for Jiang Bai's body to undergo a drastic change. Jiang Bai's eyes regained their radiance, and the light in his eyes was quite dazzling. He couldn't believe that the injuries in his body had healed just like that. Even if he were to recuperate now, it would take at least 3 to 5 years for him to recover. Moreover, the process would consume a lot of treasures of heaven and earth to complete it. However, in less than 5 seconds, Li Zongjiu was able to heal all of his injuries. Who is the strongest cultivator now? Where is he? What is his cultivation level? Li Zongjiu didn't care about Jiang Bai's shock and gratitude. Even Jiang Bai was in a dazed and surprised state. The strongest cultivator. Jiang Bai immediately understood when he heard Li Zongjiu's words. The strongest cultivators are the 7 saint immortals of the sacred martial realm. Apart from them, the sacred martial realm is under the sacred martial realm. The heavenly masters of the 5 great nations are all absolute saints. There are a total of 20 of them. Now, these 20 heavenly masters of the great nations are confronting the enemy's top fallen army. Although we have 1,000,000 soldiers here, it's actually just a small battlefield. Jiang Bai said. Li Zongjiu had a rough idea of the situation after hearing this. There were more than 20 absolute saints, and the saint immortals were obviously stronger than the absolute saints. This was just the number on the surface. In reality, there might be several times more than this. However, among the human race, so many experts were unable to destroy the fallen race. Instead, they were showing a tenacious resistance. This meant that there were even more experts in the biological world. Chapter 13:10. Li Zongjiu also understood the general situation from Jiang Bai. It seemed that it would not be easy to find the transmission array and leave this place. Even after such a long time, the Holy Mountain's top experts still hadn't been dealt with. Clearly, the fallen race had some ability. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to jump around until now. Moreover, the more they jumped around, the more powerful they became. Okay, I got it. You can go back first. Li Zongjiu said. There was a pleading look in Jiang Bai's eyes because she did not receive any response from Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu also did not say that he would help, nor did he say that he would not help. This made Jiang Bai have a glimmer of hope in her heart. Naturally, she hoped that Li Zongjiu and Jiang Bai could help. However, it was obviously whimsical to ask them to help for free. Senior Yanran has killed millions of fallen people today. Her body must be contaminated with the fallen qi. The experts of the fallen clan will soon come to find us. Jiang Bai said. It was precisely because the generals had killed too many fallen ones that they were assassinated by the other party's experts. Therefore, most of the generals died in the assassination. The fallen clan was not afraid of constantly replacing generals. After all, as long as the fallen qi accumulated to a certain extent, the fallen clan would send assassins. Just the appearance of today's incident was enough to make the fallen clan send out an extremely top assassin group to assassinate Qi Yanran. Therefore, Jiang Bai was so anxious to take down the Black Snake Mountain fortress first. This way, at least they could arrange a defensive line in advance. After all, the difference between the beastmen and the human race was quite obvious. As long as they were prepared, they could more or less know in advance. Oh, there is such a thing. Then let them come. Li Zongjiu was surprised. No wonder when Yanran came back, she said that she wanted to refine something strange. Moreover, this thing seemed to be very difficult to deal with. Now that he heard it, it seemed to be the fallen Qi. If that was the case, then the several powerful existences of the Holy Mountain were probably in a group because of this matter, and did not act on their own. If they acted on their own, it would bring about great danger. After all, the other party would send existences of at least the same level. Jiang Bai naturally reminded her, but in his heart, he was worried. After all, Qi Yanran had killed millions of fallen half-orcs today. The depraved aura of these half-beastmen would definitely be concentrated on Qi Yanran. After accumulating to a certain extent, the corresponding assassins would be sent to carry out the assassination mission. Qi Yanran's life was also in great danger. At the very least, the fallen tribe was able to force the experts of the sacred mountain to stay within the borders of the sacred mountain. Once they appeared, they would definitely be attacked by the experts of the half-beastmen. It could be seen that no matter how powerful Qi Yanran was, it was impossible for her to surpass those powerful holy immortals in the holy mountain. Therefore, in the end, only death awaited her. The only way was to escape to the sacred mountain. In that case, there was still hope. However, Jiang Bai wanted to say it, but Li Zongjiu expressed that he did not care, so Jiang Bai sighed. Goodbye. After Jiang Bai left the inn, he ordered people to closely seal off the Black Snake Mountain fortress, and absolutely not allow any half-orcs to enter or leave. Even if they had wings, they would be shot down together. Although the effect was minimal, it was more or less preventable. In the Fallen War territory, the people of the 5 major tribes were almost annihilated in a day. It was the first time they had seen such a powerful enemy and such cruel means. Therefore, the main person in charge of the Fallen War territory. They also met each other. After some investigation, they finally confirmed that there must be a heavenly master from the Shang nation. To be able to kill millions of my warriors in an instant, it must be a heavenly master sent by the Shang nation. I want to see which blind person actually came to court death at this time. There were a total of 16 tribes in the Fallen War territory. The person in charge was called the Realm Lord. The patriarchs of the 16 tribes under his command were also elites. However, today, in just one day, 5 patriarchs and the military strength of 5 tribes were lost. This immediately made the fallen Realm Lord dumbfounded. There had never been such a big defeat. How could he explain this to the higher-ups? Although the half-orcs had a terrifying appearance and looked like half-human half-beast, there was absolutely no problem in terms of intelligence. They also had intelligence, but the cultivation method and the energy they absorbed were different, which led to the current change. We have already locked onto this person and reported it. Soon, a special group of assassins will come and deal with this person. The fallen Realm Lord comforted the patriarchs of the several tribes. Although such a big situation occurred in the attack on Suishan City, it could be said that they had achieved great victories in the battlefields of the other cities. It could be considered as an explanation. The sudden appearance of the Shang nation's heavenly master made it difficult for the realm lords of the small war territories to contend against. Suddenly, a cold wind swept across the hall. After the fallen race attacked the cities, they either killed everyone or tamed everyone. Those who were unwilling to be tamed were basically killed, and those who were tamed were quickly able to obtain powerful strength. Then, they picked up their weapons, turned around, and continued to attack their former compatriots. Such a situation was rather surprising to see. Therefore, after being conquered, basically everyone would either commit suicide or resolutely refuse to surrender, because living like that would already be soulless. The fallen race also occupied the cities, trained their soldiers, and mined. They stored the people in the cities as food. Such an evil existence naturally had to be irreconcilable with the human race. Between them, they had long been in a situation where they could not coexist. It depended on who could lead the victory of this battle. Although this battle had been fought for hundreds of years. Suddenly, a gust of cold wind blew across the hall. The candles flickered, and as they flickered, a few more figures appeared in the hall. The Lord of the Fallen Realm and the others were immediately shocked. Even if they were of the same race, they could not help but tremble in fear when facing these terrifying fellows. After all, these people appeared and disappeared unpredictably. They could take off your head with a light flick of their fingers. Do you think these people are terrifying? I heard that a Shang nation's heavenly master came, killing millions of my soldiers. A gloomy voice sounded from the hall. Chapter 13:11. All the clan leaders present, including the Lord of the Fallen Realm, were startled, and a chill rose in their hearts. It's here. The assassin group. Even though they were from the Fallen clan, they still felt incomparably terrified. This was because the assassin group was made up of the top experts of the Fallen clan. Once targeted by these people, the consequences would be unimaginable. The methods of these people could be said to be extremely cruel. No one had ever escaped from the assassin group. Once captured, it would be a very interesting beginning for the assassin group. They even treated torture as a kind of pleasure, an extremely enjoyable game. If these people who were sent to attack the city did not gain any results and made no progress, the reapers of the assassin group would directly appear. They would be put on trial. The so-called trial was naturally a process of extreme torture. People of any rank could be punished. Therefore, every time these people from the assassin group appeared, it was a frightening thing for them. They had finally become half-beastmen. In order to survive, they had become fallen. But who knew that after becoming a fallen, there would be pressure? If they were not careful, they would be even more miserable. Sir, please sit. The Lord of the Fallen Realm quickly stood up and gave up his seat without hesitation. Then, a person suddenly appeared in the seat of the Lord of the Fallen Realm. As for the black shadows that were standing behind the clan heads, they instantly disappeared and reappeared behind the figures that were standing before them. My name is Wuxia. Take a seat. Don't be too reserved. Enjoy your last day. Wuxia said. The ice-cold words immediately caused the clan leaders to be stunned. What did he mean? Could it be that the higher-ups wanted to execute them? For so long, although they had suffered from the intense resistance of the Battle of Time, they had never retreated. Even if their progress was slow, they had still pushed forward more or less. It was unlikely that they would be killed because of what happened today. Sir. Sir, Wuxia glanced at the people in front of him. Their faces were filled with fear, panic, and bewilderment. Bloodless loved to see such expressions on their faces. They didn't even know when they were going to die. They couldn't even control themselves. They were like little lambs that had escaped from their mother's embrace. Hee, I was just joking. Isn't it funny? Wuxia said. A joke? Why don't you grab your sister and play with her? You're actually doing this kind of thing. Is it fun? These patriarchs were almost angered to death. If someone were to joke around with your life, do you think you would be happy? You don't think my joke is funny? Wuxia said. Immediately, the atmosphere in front of them became extremely cold again. After everyone heard this, they immediately laughed out loud as if this matter was very funny. Some were even lying on the ground, unable to get up. Lord of the Fallen Realm, you've lost the military strength of 5 tribes today, a total of 1 million soldiers. But now, these people are actually laughing so happily. Especially this one, did you see that? He's actually laughing under the table. Wuxia said indifferently. His hands were hidden in his wide sleeves. Moreover, he gently swung his slender tail. It turned out that Lord Wuxia was actually a rodent half-beast man. Hearing Lord Wuxia's words, the people who were laughing suddenly froze on the spot. At this moment, they didn't know whether to laugh or not. However, the Lord of the Fallen Realm already understood what Lord Wuxia meant. Immediately, without hesitation, he took a step forward and came in front of the patriarch who was laughing under the table. He raised his hand and directly smashed the patriarch's head. Bang! With the sound of a heavy hammer, a muffled sound could be heard throughout the hall. No one expected the Lord of the Fallen Realm to be so decisive. Moreover, they were just discussing things together a moment ago. In the blink of an eye, someone's head was smashed. Moreover, Lord Wuxia obviously wanted to kill one as an example to others. Or perhaps, he liked the feeling of being in control of life and death. Looking at these people who lowered their heads and didn't dare to act rashly, Wuxia shook his hand helplessly. This is so boring. You guys really don't make me feel the least bit spirited. Since a heavenly master from the Shang nation is here, let me see how capable you are. After Wuxia finished speaking, his figure disappeared from the hall. The assassination team that came with them also disappeared from the main hall. Only when Lord Wuxia left did they completely heave a sigh of relief in their hearts. So be it. He even specially came to play with them. Looking at the corpse on the ground. The remaining 10 patriarchs also lowered their heads. Obviously, they were observing a moment of silence for the person who had just been killed. How pitiful. Let Tashin take in this idiot's subordinates. The Lord of the Fallen Realm didn't want to say anything more. Killing such a person didn't make any waves to them. It was only because they saw the fate of the patriarch that they thought of their own fate. In the Fallen Realm, class represented absolute power. The people in the upper echelons could easily control the life and death of the people in the lower echelons. They could easily execute them. There was no dignity to speak of. They didn't even think highly of you. Therefore, in order to obtain class and status, one had to perform meritorious deeds. Only after performing meritorious deeds could one be promoted. Only then would one have the opportunity to control one's own life. Obviously, the Fallen Realm wasn't easy to survive in. However, Wuxia was also considered to be in the upper echelons of the Fallen Realm. He had the cultivation equivalent to the primitive emperor of the human race and was proficient in assassination. He could hide in the darkness without making a sound. When he took a person's life, there would be no movement at all. At this moment, there were a total of 20,000 soldiers stationed in the Black Snake Mountain Fortress. The fortress had also been rebuilt. With the current technology, it was naturally very easy to repair these fortresses. It was precisely because they had mastered these powerful technologies that in terms of construction and other aspects of development, they were far superior to the half-beastmen who only knew how to use force. Therefore, under the crazy attacks of these people, they tenaciously persevered until now. Under the pressure of these half-beastmen, some of their engineering skills had also improved by leaps and bounds. If you didn't complete something, if you didn't create something, you would die. He was easily killed by someone else. Little ones, do you smell the smell of fresh blood? There are about 20,000 people here. All of them will become your food. Chapter 13:12. As soon as Wuxia finished his words, 6 black figures suddenly rushed into the fortress of the Black Snake Ridge Fortress. Immediately, a massacre ensued. In just a moment, the entire fortress was filled with the sounds of killing. The soldiers in the fortress did not even know who they were facing. They were killed in the dark. Fear and panic were spreading throughout the entire military camp. However, Jiang Bai had already prepared beforehand. Obviously, he had expected the enemy to vent their anger on the ordinary soldiers. He had already instructed them to use the ultimate weapon immediately if anything happened. A deputy commander in the army immediately ordered someone to open the ultimate weapon. The so-called ultimate weapon was actually a Yuan energy cannon that could release lightning attributes. However, this origin energy cannon was quite powerful. Moreover, the origin energy cannon also had a lifespan. Every time it was used, it would wear out. As an extremely important secret weapon, Jiang Bai had arranged for the lightning origin energy cannon to be placed here because he wanted to catch them off guard. Wu Shui stood on a small hill and stared at the scene below. Suddenly, the cold smile on Wu Shui's face froze. Then, he leaped and fled into the distance. Boom! Half of the fortress's defense was blasted into pieces. Furthermore, there was still a continuous stream of lightning surging out. One of the lightning bolts was also rapidly heading toward Wu Shui. This was because the lightning Yuan energy cannon also had the ability to track people. It could also detect the aura of the fallen people nearby. If it was on the battlefield, this cannon was enough to kill tens of thousands of fallen people. However, tonight's cannon only killed 5 half-beastmen. These beastmen were already Yuan monarchs. However, they were easily killed by the attack of the lightning Yuan energy cannon. 2 escaped. The deputy commander saw the lightning bolts and chased after them. However, it seemed like he did not manage to catch them. He could not help but feel resentful and stomped his foot. In just a few minutes, more than 1,000 soldiers stationed in the Black Snake Ridge fortress had been killed or injured. This was a huge loss. If the lightning Yuan energy cannon had not been used in time to force the beastmen away, it would not have been long before everyone in the fortress would have been killed. Thinking of this, he more or less dodged a calamity. Quickly report the situation to the general. The deputy commander glanced at the lightning source energy cannon in front of him. This lightning source energy cannon had already been completely scrapped. The last chance had already been used. The next time these people launched a surprise attack, they would not have the strength to withstand it. Bloodless and the other Hitman squad member also quickly retreated. Fortunately, the 2 of them were quite fast. Therefore, they weren't hurt by the lightning source energy cannon. Otherwise, as long as they came into contact with it, the energy would start to gather towards them. They didn't know how these weak humans made these terrifying weapons. Lord Wuxia, our troops. The assassins who were lucky enough to escape saw their companions being killed by the enemy with their own eyes. They were fixed on the spot and killed cleanly. He didn't even have the ability to escape. Therefore, he himself also had a lingering fear in his heart. Fortunately, he ran quickly just now. Although Bloodless was confident that he could withstand this attack. But as an assassin, his whereabouts must not be exposed. Otherwise, what was the difference between him and those useless people? To really live in the dark, to come and go without a trace, this was the highest level. It seems that they have made some arrangements. Let's withdraw for today. Bloodless said faintly. Looking at these people in front of him, they should be prepared. In this case, there was no need to take action at this time. Today, he lost 5 men. Bloodless would never let this matter rest. It was not easy to come out to carry out a mission. Of course, Bloodless would not be so bored. He directly killed the target and then obediently went back to report. At least, he wanted to have more fun. Such a rare opportunity, of course, he wanted to release the darkness in his heart. He wanted to let these people in front of him suffer all the pain he had suffered. Living in the dark for a long time, of course, this mentality would become quite distorted. Moreover, Bloodless and these people were no longer normal people. It had become normal to not put life in their eyes. No need, you can't leave today. Just when Bloodless and Bloodless were about to leave. However, a voice stopped them in their tracks. This voice seemed to have appeared out of thin air, directly above their heads and into their ears. The 2 of them paused for a moment. Who is it? Bloodless eyes suddenly emitted a cold light. At this moment, with his perception, there was no way to sense the existence of this person. This meant that the strength of this person was far above him. Even this concealment technique was better than his. Here. Bloodless quickly caught a figure and immediately smiled. In Bloodless' eyes, he was the one who forced the other party out. I didn't expect that there would be a human who is not afraid of death. When he saw that Li Zongjiu was just a human youth, Bloodless' smile became wider. If it was a white-haired old man who came out, then with Bloodless' experience, he should be careful because the other party was likely to be an expert who had cultivated for hundreds of years. But a child? Bloodless had fought countless battles on the battlefield and had seen all kinds of ruthless characters. Some of the more difficult human experts had died under his sharp teeth. But the experts among the children were basically people who pretended to be strong. None of them were really strong. Lord Bloodless, let me break his 4 limbs first, then let you torture him slowly. Another assassin said respectfully. Then, he looked at Li Zongjiu with eyes full of murderous intent. Bloodless nodded. In the next second, his figure disappeared from the spot. Boom! In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of Li Zongjiu. Die! When Li Zongjiu saw the person rushing over, he immediately sent a slap over. Bang! The assassin's head instantly separated from his neck and flew into the distance. What? A look of surprise flashed across Wuxua's eyes. Then, his expression turned ferocious. He opened his mouth and the shape of his head instantly changed into that of a mouse. His sharp teeth shone with a cold light. Chapter 13:13. A cold light flashed in Wuxua's eyes. In the next moment, his figure actually disappeared into the darkness. He disappeared. From an outsider's point of view, it was a very strange scene because Wuxua's figure just disappeared on the spot. Even if you looked around now, you wouldn't be able to see any movement. If an ordinary person saw such a strange situation, they would think that they had seen a ghost. However, such a trick was simply a small trick in front of Li Zongjiu. Moreover, Li Zongjiu just stood there and didn't move, allowing Wuxia to play tricks. Furthermore, Wuxua's figure seemed to be quite fast. If you like running so much, then run a few more laps. Suddenly, Li Zongjiu's hand directly grabbed into the darkness. Then, he grabbed a figure and pulled him out. Boom! Without saying a word, he directly threw the figure in his hand far away. Wuxia didn't even have time to react. He was directly caught by Li Zongjiu and directly thrown a few miles away. During this process, he had no way to control his own body. Bang! Wuxia was directly thrown into a mountain wall. A cave was smashed out. Wuxua's body was also stuck in the cave for a long time before he could take a breath and get out. How is this possible? It must be a coincidence. Wuxia couldn't believe it. Did Li Zongjiu directly catch him just now? How is this possible? How can such a thing happen? However, how can he explain being directly thrown here? No, this kid must have a treasure that can restrain me. Wuxia thought. Today's luck isn't good. Let's retreat first. Wuxia didn't plan to go back. Those low-level beast men were the kind that didn't have brains. If they were told to charge, they would charge directly. However, Wuxia wasn't like that. He was the kind that had brains. He would never sacrifice his life for nothing. Seeing that the situation wasn't good, he quickly retreated. Otherwise, it would be too late for regrets if he encountered any problems. It seems that this person is the heavenly master of Shang. I'll let you be arrogant for now. When I call the experts of the Dark Hall over, I'll see how long you can be arrogant. These were the highest ruling bodies of the Beast Men. It was called the Beast God Temple. As for the Dark Hall, it was a branch of the Beast God Temple. The assassins were all from the Dark Hall. Wuxua's strength and talent were at the bottom of the Dark Hall. The reason why he was sent here first was because he was going to be cannon fodder. Therefore, Wuxia was not worried that he would not be able to find someone to deal with Li Zongjiu after he returned. However, he neglected one thing, which was what Li Zongjiu had said at the beginning. He didn't have to leave. Where are you going? Li Zongjiu suddenly appeared in front of Wu Shui. Suddenly, Wu Shui shuddered. His opponent's speed was truly faster than his. Soul-sealing pearl. Suddenly, Wu Shui threw out a black bead from his hand. This bead seemed to contain the resentment of tens of thousands of humans, which was why it could produce such a huge and terrifying energy. If the energy was dispersed, it would directly trap Li Zongjiu's soul. However, Li Zongjiu also activated his mental strength and directly suppressed the power of the soul-sealing pearl. Then, he reached out and grabbed the soul-sealing pearl in his hand. After Wu Shui threw out the soul-sealing pearl, he immediately jumped up and fled into the distance. His figure instantly blended into the darkness, and dozens of his figures were split into two. He wanted to deceive Li Zongjiu's eyes and buy himself some time. However, in front of Li Zongjiu, such an action was indeed superfluous. Boom! Li Zongjiu's figure flashed and appeared behind Wu Shui. Then, he hit Wu Shui's back with his palm and directly sent him flying. This time, Wu Shui was half crippled. After falling to the ground, it was very difficult for him to get up. Li Zongjiu's figure landed on the ground. Wu Shui, who was lying on the ground, did not know how to react. How could Li Zongjiu's strength be so powerful? In front of him, he was like a small grasshopper that could not jump away no matter how hard he tried. He was easily grasped by Li Zongjiu's palm. Look into my eyes. Li Zongjiu's words were like a thunderclap that exploded in Wu Shui's head. Wu Shui subconsciously opened his eyes and met Li Zongjiu's eyes. In the next moment, a vast, turbulent, stormy wave of power directly bombarded him. In an instant, it penetrated Wu Shui's head. At the same time, Li Zongjiu completely destroyed Wu Shui's mental strength and plundered all the things contained in Wu Shui's mental strength. After a while, Wu Shui's body was paralyzed. Li Zongjiu casually threw him to the ground and gradually turned him into a stiff corpse. Li Zongjiu immediately closed his eyes and digested the information he plundered from Wu Shui. He digested it bit by bit. Finally, Li Zongjiu opened his eyes. There was a trace of shock in his eyes. Beast God Temple. Li Zongjiu's eyes flashed. Clearly, the power contained in the Beast God Temple shocked Li Zongjiu. What a powerful organization, the Beast God Temple. As far as Li Zongjiu knew, there were more than 100 people in the Dark Hall who were at the Paragon level, including those without a bloodline. These 100 people were all Supreme Being experts. Among them, there were probably many peak Supreme Being experts. As for the Dark Hall's 2 Hall Masters and 4 Deputy Hall Masters, they had surpassed the peak Supreme Being realm. The Dark Hall was divided into 2 main halls, the Assassination Hall and the Judgment Hall. Therefore, there were 2 Hall Masters. In the Dark Hall, an organization under the Beast God Temple, there were a total of 6 Supreme Being experts. Therefore, it was quite difficult for the 7 Supreme Being experts of the human clan to resist. In that case, it was a very dangerous situation. No wonder the human clan's situation was getting more and more dangerous. With such a situation, how could it not be dangerous? Wouldn't it be more careful? However, Li Zongjiu didn't find any information about the teleportation array in Wu Shui's mind. Obviously, Wu Shui's level wasn't high enough to touch the teleportation array. Therefore, it wasn't valuable. He still needed the other party to send more powerful experts. Li Zongjiu's figure flickered and disappeared from where he was. He returned to Suishan City. At this moment, Qi Yanran had also completely refined the depraved energy. If an ordinary cultivator was contaminated by the depraved energy, it would be difficult to get rid of it. However, in Qi Yanran's hands, it was a little wishful thinking. She could easily refine it. However, the depraved energy was difficult to get rid of. It would be absorbed by the fallen clan. Therefore, Qi Yanran couldn't let the depraved energy leave. Chapter 13-14. Seeing that Li Zongjiu had returned, Yan Yanran looked at Li Zongjiu. She condensed the depraved energy in her hand into a turbid bead and placed it in her palm. How should I deal with this thing? With my strength, it will take at least a few months to completely refine it. Qi Yanran said. Don't underestimate the thing in her hand. Although it was only a little bit big, if it was released directly, the entire Suishan city would be turned into ruins. Therefore, the first thing to do was to maintain its stability. After some research, Qi Yanran also discovered that the depraved aura in her hand often tended to be unstable. If she could not continue to refine it, she would be able to refine it. If the depraved energy in her hand couldn't be refined continuously, it would form an extremely powerful explosion. It wasn't something that ordinary people could withstand. Therefore, even if the other party didn't send an expert to assassinate Qi Yanran wouldn't be able to extract the depraved energy. Sooner or later, she wouldn't be able to control the depraved energy and would be detonated by it. This made Qi Yanran see the power of the fallen clan. Let me see. Li Zongjiu took the bead condensed by the depraved energy and observed it. He wanted to refine it with his spiritual fire, but he found that it was impossible. However, Li Zongjiu's body seemed to be releasing a force. Demon-suppressing ruler. Li Zongjiu stretched out his hand and waved. Since the soul-burning array was broken, the demon-suppressing ruler was useless. In the past, Li Zongjiu and the King of Fire almost died in the demon-suppressing hall. It wasn't easy for them to obtain the demon-suppressing ruler, but Li Zongjiu always felt that the power of the demon-suppressing ruler wasn't as strong as he imagined. How could it become a supreme treasure? Therefore, Li Zongjiu was quite suspicious. However, those ancient demon clans couldn't pose a threat to Li Zongjiu, so the demon-suppressing ruler in his hand was idle. However, the demon-suppressing ruler had taken the initiative to appear. With a gentle pat, it easily absorbed all the depraved aura. I didn't expect this thing to have such an effect. Li Zongjiu was also shocked. Obviously, the devil-suppressing ruler's magical effect was beyond Li Zongjiu's imagination. Qi Yanran also looked at the devil-suppressing ruler in Li Zongjiu's hand with great surprise. This ruler of yours has a very strong power. Qi Yanran had the Blue Bird platform and the inheritance of the Heavenly Sparrow clan. Naturally, she could sense some special energy. Now, she knew that the power hidden in the demon-suppressing ruler was not simple. This is the devil-suppressing ruler. Li Zongjiu then explained what happened in the demon-suppressing palace. Then let me see your unparalleled sword. Qi Yanran didn't mind the appearance of King of Fire. After all, if it weren't for the King of Fire, Li Zongjiu might have died by now, so she had to thank the King of Fire very much. Li Zongjiu directly took out the unparalleled sword. The aura of the unparalleled sword itself was quite strong. However, Li Zongjiu had yet to fully unleash the power of the unparalleled sword. In addition, the King of Fire was also in a weakened state, so he couldn't fully display his strength. Let me try. Qi Yanran took the unparalleled sword, and then directly injected a force into it. Li Zongjiu, of course, was not worried that Qi Yanran would do anything irrational. Instead, he looked at Qi Yanran's power with great interest. Buzz! Then, the King of Fire, who was hidden in the unparalleled sword, seemed to feel the injection of the spiritual spring-like power. Bit by bit, his aura increased, recovering the essence qi that had been consumed. In the battle with the heavenly demon tribe, the unparalleled sword had also exhausted its power. It showed how difficult it was for Li Zongjiu and the others to fight against the heavenly demon tribe. The aura of the King of Fire was also rising at a speed visible to the naked eye. Now, the King of Fire was also quite strong. Boom! In the room, it was as if a fireball had rolled in. Then, the figure of the King of Fire was also born from the fireball. The flames lingered around the body of the King of Fire, hidden and full of power. This move of yours is really powerful. Li Zongjiu didn't expect that Qi Yanran's ability could have such an effect. Repairing spiritual weapons is also an ability that I inherited, but I haven't tried it before. Now it seems that the effect is good. There was a little sweat on Qi Yanran's forehead. Obviously, the process just now was not very easy, but seeing the appearance of the King of Fire, who had saved Li Zongjiu's life, made Qi Yanran smile. Your Excellency, King of Fire. Qi Yanran said politely. Now, Qi Yanran's strength had far surpassed that of the King of Fire. However, when the two met, the King of Fire's strength was also far above Qi Yanran's. Moreover, the King of Fire had taken care of Qi Yanran many times. Your power is very special. The Fire Wraith King looked at Qi Yanran in surprise. He could clearly feel the uniqueness of the power that Qi Yanran released, which was why he was quite surprised. You've finally recovered. Li Zongjiu was also very happy. Originally, repairing the unparalleled sword was also an important thing for Li Zongjiu, but it had been delayed for a long time, and there were even 2 primitive stones that had not been taken yet. Now it seemed that he could not go back for a while. You're stronger than me, so you don't have to call me Your Excellency. Just call me by my name. The King of Fire looked at Qi Yanran and said. She was just a sword spirit, so she couldn't do anything. Moreover, in the Fire Wraith King's heart, he only treated Li Zongjiu as a friend. He didn't have any other thoughts, or rather, he didn't understand other thoughts at all. Then, what's your name? Qi Yanran asked. He couldn't just call him the Fire Wraith King, right? The Fire Wraith King was just a title, not a name. Yes, I don't know your name yet. Li Zongjiu also looked at the King of Fire curiously. Originally, Li Zongjiu did not care about these things, but who would have thought that the King of Fire would directly become the sword spirit of the unparalleled sword? He could no longer leave Li Zongjiu, so he had to have a name. Otherwise, it would be a little strange to call him King of Fire, King of Fire. However, the King of Fire himself was also stunned. When it came to names, the Fire Wraith King had never cared about them. And the name King of Fire was called by others in the past. You don't know your name? Then I'll give you one. Li Zongjiu was eager to try. Both women looked at Li Zongjiu. After a moment of silence, Li Zongjiu looked at the unparalleled sword in Qi Yanran's hand. Since you have a close relationship with the unparalleled sword, you will be called Fire Sword in the future. After saying that, even the Fire Wraith King, who had always been mild-tempered, threw a flame at Li Zongjiu. Qi Yanran also directly raised the unparalleled sword and was about to stab Li Zongjiu to death. She was really capable of saying anything. How could a girl give herself the name Fire Sword? How about I call you Unparalleled? Unparalleled Fire, how about this name? Chapter 13-15. Huo Wushuang, the Fire Wraith King mumbled to himself. Alright, I'll be called Huo Wushuang from now on. You can call me Wushuang. After Huo Wushuang introduced himself, he actually laughed. It was a sense of recognition. Such intimacy made Huo Wushuang feel a sense of warmth. Speaking of which, this is the first time I've seen you smile. Li Zongjiu looked at Huo Wushuang's smile and was surprised. After going through so many trials and tribulations with Huo Wushuang, they were very familiar with each other. However, it was rare to see Huo Wushuang smile. In his memory, he had never seen such a thing happen before. I'm a little happy that I have a name. Huo Wushuang said. In fact, Huo Wushuang had lived in the Sacred Flame Royal City for so many years, but no one cared about the name of the King of Fire. They only knew that she called herself King of Fire. That was why such a situation happened. Your power is so strong. I've almost recovered all of my strength. Huo Wuxuang looked at Qi Yanran. The power I inherited seems to be related to restoration. I'm not too sure about the specifics. I'll have to test it. You can restore magic treasures. Li Zongjiu looked at Qi Yanran with surprise in his eyes. This was an extremely powerful divine ability. Not only magic treasures, I think I can restore people too. Qi Yanran turned her wrist, and a power shining with 5 kinds of light appeared in her hand. It's called the 5-colored divine light. Qi Yanran said. 5-colored divine light? Even Li Zongjiu had never heard of it. Obviously, Li Zongjiu, the #1 expert in the Holy Martial Continent, was still not enough. Although Li Zongjiu had become the #1 expert in the Holy Martial Continent, he might not even be ranked in the Holy Martial Realm. It was a blow to Li Zongjiu. However, with the various methods he had now, Li Zongjiu would at least not be so passive. In the past, Li Zongjiu was like a frog at the bottom of a well. Fortunately, Li Zongjiu had successfully jumped out of his shell. As of now, the Infernal Prajna Technique's 10 hells had only been cultivated to the 4th level. Fiery Hell. Blood Soul Hell. Spiritual Hell. Spiritual Energy Hell. In the Spiritual Energy Hell, Li Zongjiu specially stored primordial stones and the like in a place rich in spiritual energy. At the moment, it seemed like he would need to expend a lot of energy to smith the other parts. I've never heard of it, but I'm sure that if this 5-colored divine light can be cultivated to the extreme, it will have endless power. Even if a hole appears in the sky, it will be able to repair it. Li Zongjiu exclaimed. After Huo Wuxuang walked around the area, she felt a little tired and returned to the unparalleled sword to rest. After all, Huo Wuxuang was already an artifact spirit. She could not leave her body for a long time. In the future, when Li Zongjiu's strength improved, he would be able to transfer power to Huo Wuxuang's body, allowing her to stay outside for a longer period of time, just like how a person needed to sleep. After exercising for a while, she returned to the unparalleled sword to rest. I'll also study the demon-suppressing ruler. Li Zongjiu said. After all, both of them were top experts in the world. When they knew that there were more powerful enemies, they naturally wanted to improve their cultivation. Just as Li Zongjiu was studying the demon-suppressing ruler in his hand. Hundreds of thousands of miles away. In the middle of a huge teleportation array, there was a building that towered into the clouds. The building seemed to have directly drilled out of the teleportation array. Obviously, this mysterious building spanned across 2 worlds. It seemed that halfway through the teleportation array was destroyed and stopped operating. Outside the teleportation array, there were more than 20 experts in black robes. They were using all of their strength to transfer power to the array, forcibly maintaining the array in a low-speed state. If they did not maintain it, the mysterious building would be crushed in an instant. The remaining half would not be able to be teleported over. It was because these experts were using their own yuan power to maintain the teleportation array that such a strange situation was created. It was amazing. Everyone, hold on. The elders are thinking of a way to make the teleportation array work again. They will teleport our divine palace here. Yes. It's already been 300 years. Who knows how long the elders will take to figure out a way. I saw a bloody light shoot up to the sky from the dark hall. It seems that many things have happened recently. What can happen? With that old bastard Tian Ming watching, it's impossible for anything to happen. These 20 people sat there every day, feeling extremely bored. Therefore, they were very sensitive to the situation around them. Therefore, they liked to talk with assurance. In fact, if these 20 people moved together, they would be able to take down the sacred mountain of the sacred martial realm in an instant. However, in order to maintain the integrity of this mysterious building, they had to maintain their strength here. They could not leave. Being able to maintain the teleportation array in such a state for hundreds of years was enough to show how terrifying their strength was. Below the Dark Hall. Assassination Hall. Assassins had died near the Battle of Time. Moreover, it seemed that many of them had died overnight. This attracted the attention of the manager of the Assassination Hall. Immediately, the manager of the Assassination Hall collected and organized the information. With so many people dying, it was natural that he would be able to sense it immediately. Under normal circumstances, the hall master and the deputy hall master did not need to appear. It was enough for the managers to appear and make arrangements. These managers were also top-notch existences. Shui Mie, immediately lead your men to the Battle of Time and find the person who killed Shui Wu. It should be a heavenly master from the Upper Empire who killed millions of our people. The manager of the Assassination Hall said. Yes, Lord Manager. In the darkness, dozens of blood shadows flew out. They quickly rushed towards the Battle of Time. Boom! These dozens of figures were all Origin Emperors. The leader, Shui Mie, had reached the peak of the Origin Emperor realm. If he transformed, he could even fight against a Supreme Being expert. Transformation. It was an ability that only high-level half-beastmen could possess. Once they transformed, their strength would increase by several times. These people were the peak assassins of the Assassination Hall. Even a true heavenly master from the Upper Empire would die if he met them. Chapter 13-16. Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran also stayed in Suishan City for a few days. Li Zongjiu was the only one who knew about this. Since he killed the people of the Assassination Hall, the other party would definitely come looking for him. If he left at this time, the other party might really kill everyone in Suishan City. However, these people couldn't act so unscrupulously. There must be some kind of restriction in it. Otherwise, with these people's skills, how could the people of Suishan City resist them? Jiang Bai received the battle report from the Black Snake Mountain Fortress. The battle was extremely tragic. They lost at least 5,000 people and their powerful weapons were used up. Now, the entire Black Snake Mountain Fortress only had soldiers left to defend it. It was an extremely weak defense. Jiang Bai ordered people to set up some destructive traps in the Black Snake Mountain Fortress and then took the lead to retreat. Staying in the Black Snake Mountain Fortress was a dead end, so it was better to return to Suishan City to set up a defense. He repaired some large weapons and equipment. At the same time, Jiang Bai also requested some supplies from the kingdom. After the supplies were received, they could continue to fight. But last night, Suishan City was incomparably quiet and didn't suffer any attacks. According to the character of the Assassination Hall's experts, once they came out, they would definitely go crazy and kill people for revenge. The quiet Suishan City also made Jiang Bai realize that someone had made a move. Since someone had made a move, it was most likely Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran. A light flashed in Jiang Bai's eyes. Although Li Zongjiu and the others looked very cold on the surface, in fact, they were human compatriots after all. In fact, they were in a soft-hearted state. Therefore, if he could continue to persuade them, there might be a chance. Jiang Bai once again came to look for Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran. This time, Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran didn't directly refuse Jiang Bai. The main reason was that Qi Yanran wanted to help them. In fact, helping them was also helping herself. Perhaps one day, after the Saint Martial realm was breached, it wouldn't be long before the Saint Martial continent was next. After all, every place in the chain was on the same continent. It was only because there was a power protecting it that it was impossible to travel from the Sacred Martial realm to the Sacred Martial continent. How can we help? Qi Yanran asked. Hearing Qi Yanran's words, Jiang Bai's face suddenly froze, because she really never thought that it would be so smooth. Qi Yanran agreed without hesitation, which made Jiang Bai feel that happiness came too suddenly. Soon after, Jiang sorted out his thoughts. We received a report from the front lines. Of the 5 countries in the War of Time, 3 of them have already been breached. We need to send reinforcements immediately. However, our Age Mountain City doesn't have enough manpower. We really don't have the strength to do so. Let's go then. Qi Yanran said. As for Li Zongjiu's words, she naturally didn't care. Now, Li Zongjiu was also searching. There should be many powerful spiritual grasses and spiritual herbs in the sacred martial world. If they were used to refine elixirs, their power would definitely increase greatly. Wait a minute, why don't you guys go and arrange the formation? Li Zongjiu said. With the strength of Age Mountain City, although the scale wasn't very big, it was at least small. If they could use the formation as a support, they wouldn't be beaten so badly. Formation. Our formation has already been completely destroyed by them. Only a few heavenly masters of the Great Kingdom know how to repair the formation, so the formation has long been useless. Jiang Bai said. Qi Yanran listened to Li Zongjiu's question and was also thoughtful. She seemed to be trying to recall something. Suddenly, her eyes lit up. In my memory, there's a great defensive formation. It's very suitable for defense and offense. Qi Yanran said. Since we'll help you to the end, let us arrange this great formation. Li Zongjiu said. Jiang Bai never thought that the 2 divine nuns in front of her would know about the Tao of formation. If Age Mountain City could have a formation to protect it, it would be a blessing. At least, they wouldn't need to waste their lives to make up for the lack of defense. Before Jiang Bai could say anything, she saw the 2 of them rushing up to the sky. He casually tossed out high-grade origin stones in the sky towards various parts of the city. As he tossed them out, he had already finished carving the formation within them. Nirvana Heavenly Fire Great Formation. Qi Yanran directly transmitted the formation to Li Zongjiu's mind with her mental strength. Immediately, Li Zongjiu received the formation. It was a 10th level formation. However, with their current strength, they couldn't fully display the might of the Nirvana Heavenly Fire Great Formation. At most, it could reach the 8th level. Perhaps, it could reach the 9th level after some practice. Even if it was a 8th level formation, it would be enough to resist the attack of a half-beast in the Origin Emperor realm. It only took half an hour to set up the Great Formation. However, in this half an hour, they had consumed more than 100,000 high-grade primordial stones. Only then did they finish setting up the 8th level formation. Although the formation was only at the 8th level, the consumption was quite terrifying. This was because the formation protected the entire Age Mountain City. Jiang Bai and the commoners of Suishan City were all below, watching the 2 of them as they covered the sky and covered the sun. They were all looking up at him with an attitude of incomparable reverence. The moment the great formation was formed, a terrifying light seemed to soar into the sky. From the surroundings of Age Mountain City, countless flames gathered in the sky above the city. After the energy gathered, it formed an extremely huge firebird. If they could fully display the might of the great formation, it would be a great formation. It would form a divine beast, the vermilion bird. It was a pity that the 2 of them were still a little unfamiliar with the formation. However, it was their first time working together, and they were able to set up an 8th level formation. Are the 2 of you wasting primordial stones like this? Just when the 2 of them were feeling extremely proud. A voice sounded helplessly. It was Huo Wushuang. Huo Wushuang appeared in the sky. However, Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran's aura covered Huo Wushuang's. Is it very wasteful? Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran were also surprised. They thought that their level was quite good. After all, who could achieve such a level? Of course it's wasteful. Huo Wushuang was an expert in formations, so it wasn't a problem for her to give pointers to the 2 of them. Chapter 13-17. Huo Wushuang immediately stretched out his hand and took out the primordial stones from Li Zongjiu's spiritual qi hell. With one upper-grade primordial stone as the core and 5 other stones as support, he formed a small array. Then, he used the same method to create another 5 small arrays. Then, he continued to combine the 6 small arrays into a big array. One after another. Both of them were dumbfounded by such a mysterious technique. My God, what is this operation? Qi Yanran also opened her mouth wide. In this way, the consumption of upper-grade primordial stones was only 10,000. In the blink of an eye, it had already formed another formation that covered the original formation. The same effect, but the level was higher. Huo Wushuang's mysterious method immediately made Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran blush. He only used 1/10 of the materials to complete the effect that was 100% better than theirs. The 9th level array was set up just like that. No wonder Huo Wushuang couldn't help but jump out and directly said that the two of them were too wasteful. Because he couldn't stand it at all. Who could stand these people being so wasteful? So, he also jumped out directly. Let's learn. Qi Yanran said. The two of them couldn't help but applaud Huo Wushuang's method. It was really amazing, and at the same time, it could be considered as giving them some pointers. At least, the two of them knew that the most important thing to set up an array was to be able to form such a combination. Only such a combination was the most stable existence, and it could allow the level to reach a higher level. After showing off his skill, Huo Wushuang returned to the unparalleled sword. The people in Suishan City didn't realize that the array just now was set up by an array master. The two of them also descended once again. Whoosh! Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran both landed on the ground. Jiang Bai directly led his soldiers and directly knelt down in front of Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran. Thank you seniors for saving the people. The surrounding people also saw this scene and knelt down in front of Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran. In Li Zongjiu's previous life, he didn't feel much when he received such worship. This was because those people were afraid of Li Zongjiu's methods, so this time, they would do such a thing. However, these people now wanted to thank Li Zongjiu from the bottom of their hearts. This made Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran have a strange feeling. They seemed to be motivated by this kind of power. It made Li Zongjiu feel quite strange. Get up quickly. Qi Yanran waved her hand, and an invisible force dragged everyone up. We dare not save the people, but we will try our best. Qi Yanran said. Since he had such a cultivation base, he naturally needed to do something. At this moment, Li Zongjiu felt that the Hell Prajna skill in his body seemed to be running on its own, and it also automatically opened up a new hell. Hell of Merits. A light flashed in Li Zongjiu's mind. This name almost popped out by himself. Even Li Zongjiu didn't figure out what the hell was, what kind of existence it was, and how it could be created in his body. However, Li Zongjiu didn't panic. Anyway, this was a good thing. Everyone was also surprised by Qi Yanran's means. He actually lifted all of them up with a casual wave of his hand. She really had great magical powers. Ahem, I can't help for nothing. Just now, I used at least hundreds of thousands of upper-grade primordial stones. Li Zongjiu also rubbed 2 of his fingers. His meaning was quite obvious. Qi Yanran directly rolled her eyes. Li Zongjiu's old habit was acting up again. He really didn't change his mind no matter what. It was really rare. When Jiang Bai saw this gesture, he was also stunned. Immediately, he also immediately came to his senses. Not only did he help for free, but he also wanted the senior to pay for it. Therefore, Jiang Bai immediately understood. Senior, don't worry. I still have some military supplies here. There are 200,000 upper-grade primordial stones. You can use them first. When the supplies arrive, I will give you 5 million upper-grade primordial stones. Jiang Bai said. This number also directly surprised the two of them. Is there a mistake? Are these people so rich? Could it be that the primordial stones in the sacred martial realm can be picked up casually? However, Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran also didn't know. The production of primordial stones in the sacred martial realm was indeed quite rich, but not everyone could have them. Moreover, primordial stones were also military supplies. The upper-grade primordial stones almost never fell into the hands of ordinary people. Whoever took it would be breaking the law and would be punished. Now that they were also in a state of war, these supplies were also very rich. In fact, to fight against these half-orcs, they actually relied on these primordial stones. Without these primordial energy cannons and the like, it would be quite difficult to deal with these people. Ahem, well, that's more like it. Li Zongjiu also didn't know how to respond. Even in the sacred martial continent, when Li Zongjiu was at his peak in his previous life, he didn't see so many upper-grade primordial stones. Those were upper-grade primordial stones. Perhaps the total number of upper-grade primordial stones in the entire sacred martial continent was only about 40 to 50 million. Moreover, it was divided among so many people. Naturally, the amount was quite limited. Looking at the situation, it seemed that in a place like Sui Shan City, a battle would cost hundreds of thousands of upper-grade primordial stones. It was really extravagant and wasteful. If there was a waste, it was definitely these guys who were the real wasteful ones. Li Zongjiu extremely despised such behavior in his heart. Seeing that the two of them were happy, Jiang Bai was also very excited. Although the 5 million upper-grade primordial stones had already reached 80% of the total supply this time. But just by relying on the large formation just now, it was already worth more than 10 million upper-grade primordial stones. Therefore, the value of this was immeasurable. They had upper-grade primordial stones, but the number of array masters who could arrange a large formation was extremely small. Two seniors have just exhausted themselves. Why don't you take a rest first before we set off? Jiang Bai said. In fact, Jiang Bai's heart was burning with anxiety. He couldn't wait to rush to his allies to provide support. However, the two of them had just completed such a large formation, so it was normal for them to take a rest. No need, let's set off immediately. Li Zongjiu said. You still have that little bird of yours, right? Li Zongjiu was naturally referring to the mountain auk. It's too exhausted, and it's still recovering in the green bird platform. Qi Yanran said. Obviously, the mountain auk couldn't be used. When Jiang Bai heard this, it was time for him to perform. Two seniors, the cloud-piercing ship is just as fast. Then, Jiang Bai also took something out of his storage bag. Suddenly, a large flying ship appeared in mid-air. This is an eagle battleship. When Qi Yanran saw the cloud-piercing ship, he immediately said in surprise. However, if one looked carefully, it only had a little charm. After all, the cloud-piercing ship in front of them was larger in size, and its cutting was smoother. This is a flying ship that can only be obtained in Shan country. Our Sui Shan country spent a lot of effort to obtain this one. Jiang Bai said. Chapter 13-18. Qi Yanran, on the other hand, was extremely surprised. She didn't expect such a coincidence to happen. It's very normal. Everything is actually moving in the same direction. Li Zongjiu said. He had never been to the sacred martial realm before. However, in the sacred martial continent, 3,000 years later, a flying ship similar to the cloud-piercing ship was created. When it was in Li Zongjiu's hands, he renamed it the Eagle Battleship. But in reality, the nature was similar. Qi Yanran didn't doubt him. After all, this was the sacred martial realm. It could only be said that Li Zongjiu's ideas were very advanced at that time. Someone had to create something advanced. Jiang Bai quickly assigned some tasks to the deputy generals. At the same time, he led his guards onto the cloud-piercing ship. With the cloud-piercing ship's speed, they only needed an hour to reach the neighboring country, the Moon Nation. The first line of defense in the Moon Nation, Moon City, seemed to have been breached. Now, the remaining soldiers in Moon City were covering the civilians as they retreated to the waning Moon Ridge, which was 100 miles away. There was also a fortress built on the waning Moon Ridge. After Jiang Bai and his military advisor confirmed the direction, he immediately ordered the cloud-piercing ship's pilot. Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran were still standing on the deck, but Jiang Bai and the others were already seated in the cabin. There was a ring fastened to prevent them from flying out. Seniors, quickly enter the cabin. This cloud-piercing ship is extremely fast. No need. Let's set off. Li Zongjiu said proudly. He had underestimated them too much. Therefore, Li Zongjiu naturally had to regain his face. Since Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran were so confident, Jiang Bai didn't say anything. Jiang Bai didn't say much. If he strongly requested at this time, wouldn't he be looking down on these two heavenly masters of Shang Empire? Full speed ahead. Rescuing people should be done sooner rather than later. If they could be faster, they might be able to save more people. In the next moment, an extremely terrifying roar sounded. It felt as if the surrounding air was being sucked in at this moment. At the same time, a huge explosive force was produced, and the huge cloud-piercing ship instantly rushed out. Boom! Li Zongjiu lost his balance and was sent flying by the terrifying inertia. Qi Yanran was fine because she was leaning against a pillar. She had time to react. I'll go. Li Zongjiu was directly sent flying, almost flying to an extremely far distance. Even Li Zongjiu could not react in time. The acceleration was simply too fast. It could be said that he had fallen yet again. Thankfully, Qi Yanran reacted quickly. She transformed the desolate heaven essence into a white beam of light and instantly struck Li Zongjiu's body, bringing him back. If Li Zongjiu was prepared, such a situation would not have happened. However, this situation happened too quickly. Li Zongjiu did not expect such a fast speed, so he was sent flying. He returned to the cloud-piercing ship. Fortunately, Jiang Bai and the others did not notice Li Zongjiu's embarrassment. Otherwise, Li Zongjiu would have been embarrassed once again. Li Zongjiu was also calm and composed. He returned to the deck and acted as if nothing had happened. He looked around, as if he was observing his surroundings. At this moment, the flying ship was really shuttling through the clouds. Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran also discovered that the flying ship could absorb some of the energy in the clouds as it flew, turning it into its own power. This way, at least in a situation where there was no energy source, it could fly very far. This design surprised Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran quite a bit. Qi Yanran had also participated in the design and conception of the Eagle battleship, so when she saw this new structure, she instantly understood. However, no one could have thought of such an advanced concept at that time. This speed is still very fast. Although Qi Yanran and Jiang Bai were standing on the deck, as the flying ship moved forward, it had automatically formed a kind of airflow barrier, directly sticking the people on the flying ship firmly to the ship. At this moment it was impossible to jump off the flying ship. It even required a lot of strength to break free from this force, because the cloud-piercing ship was always in a state of acceleration. The distance between the two ships was at least thousands of miles, but in just half an hour, they had already arrived above a city. When the flying boat entered the vicinity of a city, its speed directly decreased, and it slowly streaked across the sky. However, when everyone walked to the deck and saw the situation below, they all sucked in a breath of cold air. The scene below was simply too shocking for them. Although it was not the first time they saw it, every time they saw it, they would feel a kind of shock and quite a heart-wrenching feeling. This kind of feeling was indescribable. They could only watch helplessly as this once glorious city of the human race was reduced to ruins just like that. It was already destroyed beyond recognition, and thick smoke rose into the air, sweeping towards the sky. Many corpses could be found in the ruins. But these corpses were not intact. Furthermore, it could be seen that these people had their heads chopped off without any surprise. This was what shocked everyone. Such a cruel method, only the fallen race could do it. Is this still the Moon Edge city from before? One of the guards sucked in a breath of cold air when he saw this scene. The scene was really quite shocking. Ordinary people would not be able to withstand this kind of stimulation. At this moment, there was a series of movements in the city. Obviously, they heard the movement of the cloud-piercing ship outside, and suddenly, a large number of half-beastmen came out. These people still stayed in the city to find some fish that escaped the net, but under the ruins of the Moon Edge city, tens of thousands of half-beastmen rushed out. Too cruel. Qi Yanran frowned. Seeing such a scene, as someone of the same race, was indeed quite uncomfortable. If the city was captured, this would be the outcome. So, no matter how many people died, they must defend the city. After leaving the city, they would have nowhere to go. So, the people of Suishan City did not go anywhere. After leaving Suishan City, everything would come to an end. Damn it! Jiang Bai and the others' eyes were filled with tears. As soldiers, they could not bear to see the scene of the destruction of the country because it was their duty to protect these people. But in the end, they came too late. Sigh. Li Zhongjiu also helplessly shook his head. With a flick of his finger, a towering flame directly fell from the sky. Boom! When the flame fell, the Moon Edge city instantly turned into a sea of fire. And these half-beastmen were also burned to ashes. Not a single one of them could escape. After all, Li Zhongjiu's flame was already at the Supreme Being realm. Let's continue forward. Li Zhongjiu killed countless people in his previous life, but it did not mean that Li Zhongjiu was inhumane. On the contrary, Li Zhongjiu himself also liked to watch the bustling world in a quiet place. But because of all kinds of hatred in his previous life, Li Zhongjiu became the evil lord of this generation. Now that he really saw the destruction of the world, the destruction of the city, and the cruel murder of his fellow humans, no one could bear it. The fire burned all the half-blood beast men in the city to ashes. Then, the cloud-piercing ship continued forward. Waning Moon Mountain Ridge Stronghold. A bloody battle was about to break out. The people had already crossed the Mountain Ridge Stronghold. They only needed to go forward 50 miles and there would be a city to take over. But before that, they must stop the half-beastmen's advance. Everyone, this is our final battle. A female archer who was covered in blood said with a sonorous voice. This female archer's eyes were bloodshot. They had already been fighting for 3 days. Of the original 200,000 human soldiers, only these few people were left. Less than 400. All the generals, commanders, and vanguards had died in battle. Right now, she was only a centurion of 100 archers. But she was already the highest-ranking person present. So now, these 400 soldiers were all under her command. Chapter 13:19. In today's battle, we have no other choice but to use the weapons in our hands to kill our way out. In order to buy time, we must defend the stronghold to the death. Su Jing exclaimed. With a wave of his arm, the soldiers under his command also began to shout loudly. Defend the stronghold to the death. Defend the stronghold to the death. Among the 400 people, there were many types of soldiers, but the weapons they could use at this moment were quite few. Apart from a few light energy cannons in their hands, there were only cold weapons in their hands. Long swords and spears. Although the lineup was not neat, there was only one goal in everyone's heart, and that was to defend the stronghold to the death. Su Jing also took out the amulet hanging around her neck and looked at it again. This was given to her by her parents when she joined the army. Later on, her parents were also killed in the invasion of the orcs, and even their bodies could not be found. Now, she was just an ordinary high-level elemental master. In terms of commanding so many people in front of her, she was indeed a little unqualified, but now there was no other way, she could only fight by herself. There were less than 30 arrows left in the bow in her hand. However, the other side's orc army was at least 200,000. Rumble. The ground in front of them suddenly shook, and then they could see that in the distance, there seemed to be a dark cloud that was rapidly rolling over. On the ground, there was also a black tide of troops rushing over quickly, and they were rushing up the mountain. It was not the first time they saw such a scene of thousands of soldiers and horses. If it was in the past, these veterans might be shocked, but now they only had one thought, and that was to live for one more second and kill one more enemy. This was their heart's desire. This was what they were thinking at this moment. Get ready. Su Jing saw that the enemy's vanguard had already rushed halfway up the mountain, and the distance between the two sides was less than 1,000 meters. She directly shouted. In the face of such a powerful enemy, no one took a step back. Kill. Less than 500 meters. The bow in Su Jing's hand was already aimed at one of them. Just as she was about to release the arrow, a figure suddenly fell from the sky. Boom! Su Jing saw that the figure actually blocked her line of sight, and in a panic, she directly let go of her hand. The arrow in his hand had already shot out rapidly. Although he didn't know who this person was, judging from his appearance, he seemed to be a fellow human. In that case, wouldn't they be killing their own people by mistake? Su Jing immediately exclaimed. Dodge! However, the enemy troops were so powerful that they couldn't even hear the call. Just as the arrow was about to pierce the person in front of him, another figure floated down. He extended his hand and gently grabbed the arrow, catching it in his hand. Su Jing was stunned. The skill of the woman who suddenly appeared in front of her was like a dream. She casually caught her arrow. Damn you! Li Zongjiu flipped his palm over. The mountain-toppling golden seal fell. An extremely terrifying golden palm print descended from the sky. It contained an extremely vast amount of power and landed directly on the ground. Bang! When the golden palm landed on the ground, it directly overturned the surrounding soil and instantly smashed tens of thousands of orcs into pieces. Moreover, the orcs that rushed up behind were instantly burned to ashes by the remaining power of the golden light. Qi Yanran also used the power of the desolate heaven essence to rush forward and smash the orcs into meat paste. In the blink of an eye, tens of thousands of orcs were killed. The orcs at the back didn't know the situation in front of them and continued to charge forward. Soon, they were also easily wiped out. In the orc army camp at the foot of the mountain, a patriarch watched the battle in front of him. How could so many people be needed to attack a mere waning moon mountain? Therefore, he only casually sent 100,000 orcs to attack. However, the commotion that erupted from the mountain seemed to have easily killed these orcs. This caused the clan leader to be shocked. What's going on? Why are we suffering such heavy losses? The patriarch also said in shock. However, by the time he reacted, the 100,000 orcs on the mountain had already been killed. A few smart ones hid first and then secretly fled back. To them, the scene on the mountain just now was quite terrifying. So many people died in the blink of an eye. It was not something they could resist at all. Su Jing and some of the soldiers who were determined to die were also stunned on the spot. From start to finish, it took less than 5 minutes. No, it would only be 3 minutes at most. The man and woman in front of him had easily wiped out the 100,000 beast men. There were still a few palm prints left on the ground. There was a blazing energy in the palm prints that was constantly emitting. It was this energy that was released. Once the orcs came into contact with this energy, they were directly incinerated into powder. The sudden reversal of the battle situation made Su Jing and the others unable to react. However, the two people in front of them had killed 100,000 orcs. Such powerful strength must have come from the Shang nation. Shang nation's heavenly master. This thought flashed through Su Jing's mind. Could it be that the heavenly masters of the Shang nation had finally made a move? After holding on for so long in these small countries, they finally had the time to make a move. At this moment, a cloud-piercing ship was hanging above the waning moon mountain ridge. Then, more than 10 figures jumped down. Although the leader was also a woman, she was wearing the armor of a general. Jiang Bai and the others landed in front of Su Jing. "I am the general of Suishan City, Jiang Bai." Jiang Bai first introduced himself. When they heard that it was actually the general of Suishan City, the eyes of all the soldiers lit up again. The archer captain and the soldiers of Moon Edge City greet the general. Su Jing hurriedly led the soldiers to kneel down. It was the general of Suishan City. The reinforcements of Suishan City had arrived. This was the thought in their minds. The soldiers behind them also knelt down in unison. They had been looking forward to seeing the general of Suishan City for a long time. "Everyone, you have worked hard," Jiang Bai also said. After 3 days of continuous bitter fighting, their bodies were already at their limits. Jiang Bai immediately ordered his guards to help these soldiers by distributing food and the like. At the same time, he called Su Jing over. "These are the seniors of the two secluded cultivators, Senior Li and Senior Yanran." Jiang Bai introduced. At least these people had to know who had saved them. Su Jing thanks the two seniors. Immediately, Su Jing wanted to continue kneeling. However, Qi Yanran stopped her. "You are the real heroes. This is your arrow." Qi Yanran returned the arrow that she had just caught to Su Jing. Immediately, Su Jing's heart trembled. This was an extremely high level of recognition. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.